What did I see? did I see? What did I see when you sing it? What did I see when you swing it? That funny old tune will drive me to ruin. It came along and made me its slave. Now I'm craving things that I should crave. It came along and made me its slave. Now I'm craving things that I should crave.
Hello everybody, how we all doing? Welcome to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday! That's right, we have more conspiracy stuff for everyone. So how we all doing? I got new lipstick. It's very shiny and purple. So, yeah. Get your bingo cards ready. We're gonna do Tinfoil Tuesday bingo. Same rules as always, 1 card per person, please. I don't think I lined my top lip enough. If I go to the bathroom later, I'll fix it. Puka the Duka, thanks for gifting us up. Appreciate it. Same rules as usual. 5 levels to the hype train. If we get to level 5, I'll put on all of my tinfoil stuff. 1 bingo card per person for bingo. First person to win gets a bingo sub that they can either use for themselves or have me gift to others. Bardlock, thanks for 23 months, says, ready for some tinfoil. Good. I'm glad. We have plenty of stuff to look at today. Ooh, here's a short thing. This one is a Poe, but I thought it was funny. I reiterate, there is no skeletal system. What you know as a skeleton is the solidified remains of the body after death. The process is immediate after death, and everyone knows it as rigor mortis. The deception is perpetuated by the World Health Organization and the pharmaceutical companies that sell x-rays and medicines in collusion with the dairy industry that sells you cow's milk and derivatives, beneficial for the bones due to their calcium content. Wake up, investigate. Bumble Homestead, thanks for kicking off a hype train with 200 bits, 75% to level 1. Remember, if we get to level 5, I'll put on all my tinfoil costuming and look silly. Clockwork Van, thanks for gifting a sub. Okie Dad with 50 bits says, the bones! Do. Oh, good news about medbeds, guys. Another crazy QAnon person thinks they have inside information to when the medbeds are going to get here. Let's find out. Level 1 of the hype train complete, 8% to level 2.
Okay, Sky's med bedroom and everybody associated with it. Look at my hair, it's pathetic. I know, don't even take any notice. It's ridiculous. Okay, everybody associated. Humanitarians, staff, patients, anyone.
Bittergrin, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs and getting us another level up in the hype train.
Everyone in between. Okay. So, I've been asked to create these groups. Okay, so the military, medbeds, patients, updates. Okay. Now these groups are specifically, I believe, what their whole purpose is. They are specifically for people who wish to be healed. Okay. I don't feel that the Alliance is going to take, you know, they're not going to contact you to make your appointment.
Damn it, I was hoping the aliens... Honestly, I think the aliens should anticipate that I have anxiety making appointments on the phone, and therefore they should just book me. They at least have a website. Do I have to talk to an alien? And it's not... I'm not xenophobic. I would talk to a space alien. It's the phone. I do not like talking on the phone.
These groups are...
40% to level 3.
So when updates come relevant to your country, okay, that you put your name on your country, or on your country, whatever, and when we have updates, we will post the updates relevant to your country in your country. Okay, so instead of
Peter still believes in aliens, yes. Bittergrin with 100 bits says, phones are the worst. Can I just text for an appointment? That'd be nice. Hydrate.
posting, for example, Florida has a healing center that is ready to go even before the beds are being released. We can post that, okay? So you can contact them, or you can start to, you know, look around and whatnot.
Just look around for the med beds. By the way, this counts as, believes sci-fi technology actually exists on the bingo card. First name bunch of numbers with 50 bits says, thanks for the recent YouTube uploads. I was just watching the Sovsit one to comment timestamps on it, and the vid of the Aussie guy getting arrested was fun to watch. Yeah, I'm trying to be more consistent with that again. A lot of the stuff I was doing for a little bit was pretty copyright sensitive, and YouTube is more sensitive about that stuff even when it falls under fair use. So some of it I couldn't, but I just uploaded a big batch that I'm going through and trying to cut out anything that is copyrighted, so stuff will be trickling in there, including this video. J.I. Lost with 500 bits rather says, Hannah, I hope this isn't a wrong thing to say, but you're looking more and more feminine every stream I catch. Keep doing what you're doing. It's working well for you, and you're looking better and better. Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. Stakem619 with 500 bits. Chiba Hawk 420 with 100 says, I'm digging your look today, Hannah. Mango Mussolini is going to prison. Amen. What? What are you talking about? I very much doubt Trump is going to go to jail over anything. Ever. 0% to level 4 on the hype train.
When the beds are made public, we will be posting the phone numbers, okay, to your country. So if there is not just one phone number, one global phone number, if there is a different phone number for each country, we will post the phone number relevant to that country in your country list. Okay, so you will get that update.
Can I check on Queen of Canada, lady? Yeah, what's her name? I'm gonna have to find her name and find out where she posts. But I know she's been doing weird stuff. BD Kappa, thanks for 27 months, 22% to level 4.
Instead of posting 195 phone numbers all at once, we will post it directly in your group. So we don't want to clog up everything in the main med bedroom and the humanitarian groups. You know, the location groups are not for patients, they're for staff and for humanitarians. So these groups are mainly for patients to keep up to date when there is an update in their country. Okay, all we really need is your name. Okay,
I'm wondering what the grift is here, because she's saying she actually has access to these and is trying to get people's information. So I don't think she believes this. This is a, I assume, scam in which she is targeting people who believe QAnon stuff, which in fairness, if you're going to scam people, pretty good group to select from. They're clearly already gullible and they're going to believe you. So I'm wondering what the angle here is once she gets their information. Is she going to try and get some credit card info? I don't know. Either way, I'm sure it's sketch. Narnania Owl, thanks for 16 months, says it's been a while, can't wait to see what this is about. Good to see you here. Steakum619, thanks for 700 bits. We are 74% to level 4.
you don't have to add every Tom, Dick and Harry or every family member. Just your name is more than sufficient, and that's just so you get the notification that there is an update. All right, I hope this clears things up. Many people are saying that they're scam sites, they're this, they're that. No, they are absolutely not. The
narrator, they were scam sites.
Military medbeds, updates, global groups are legitimate. They are for the pay.
This lady radiates charisma. That's why her marks have to be people who already believe in QAnon. She was running out of marks for, like, the regular group of people. She was too bad at this. She has to grift with a handicap, and that handicap is only working with people dumb enough to believe in QAnon. 76% to level 4.
Patience for people wanting treatment and wanting updates on where they can get treatment, when they're available, where's their local centre, that sort of thing, okay? We've been working with the humanitarians and the staff for a long time, and now we're turning our focus to patients, those who want to be healed. All right, so I hope this explains it, and I hope it clears things up. I know it's a lot of confusion. The Telegram group is giving us headaches. The Facebook group is up and running and has been for quite a few hours now. So the Telegram group we're still working on. We're still working out bugs. I hate Telegram. I hate it with a passion. It's so complicated.
Is it?
So, okay, just...
Furries in my audience, confirm or disconfirm. 80% to level 4, 30 seconds left. Save the train. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, it really is the pits taking advantage of desperate people with health issues. Yep, shitty. Aries Corinthier says, tinfoil. Indeed we do.
Just add your name. Okay? Add your name.
Aries Corinthier with 100 bits says, tinfoil. Views with 200 bits says, choo choo. Cladams707, thanks for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. Bumble Homestead says, oh no. Train with 100 bits. And Tea with Goblin says, morning Hannah, the one day I have my shit together and on time the train is delayed. Ugh. Ugh. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like, yeah, you get the joke. Less of a joke, more of a reference. Sorry, I'm a little ranty today. I'm in a good mood. Level 5 complete. We did it. Fenekagami with 100 bits says, for the foil. Thank you. Actually, we got to 31% to level 5. So we got over level 4, 35% to level 5. We're close.
And everyone has a different profile. So if people have got the same name, it doesn't matter. You click on the name, and it's just for mainly updates anyway. Okay? So, no chat, no hi, how are you, blah, 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 or emojis. Just add your name. Really, really simple stuff. We haven't...
What is she going to do with their name? Because it's clearly a scam. Steakum with 721 bits. Thank you.
Got the Telegram channel completely up and running yet. We haven't added the countries. Patience, please. Please have some patience. It's been really difficult. Okay? Facebook, if you want to go over there, that's up and running, and every country, 195 countries are listed. Every country known on the list is listed. It's all there. Okay? Just your name. That's it. Alright? Thanks.
Hawthorne 723 with 100 bits says, there's a UK kids TV show called The Shiny Show, and all the prizes were basically various cutlery items wrapped in tinfoil. The show's catchphrase was essentially, give yourself a shiny. You would then be awarded a tinfoil-clad spoon or fork. I think you should add this to your stream whenever anyone says anything particularly tinfoil-esque. That is so bizarre. Aries Corinthier says, love that shade of lipstick. Thank you. Do I have anything short? How about this? While we're finishing up the hype train, which is a little under 3 minutes left, I thought we'd take another look at this website, which is called the General Science Journal. Now, for those of you who don't know, actual journals are things like Nature, right? Or various other ones. Baha could name many. She told me one the other day. E-Life. There are multiple journals, is what I'm saying. There are many journals. There where scientists post papers for peer review for people to look at and everything. So, this is something that just a bunch of randos on the internet made so they could post their own scientific research outside of academia. So what it basically is a bunch of crazy people, creationists and flat earthers and stuff, posting all their thoughts and what they think a research paper should look like. So it's quite funny. Here's one that I thought looked of particular interest. This is an article, What is Beyond the Universe? Author, Nagesh Devarmani. Okay? The subcategory is under gravity. So, let's find out what this person thinks is beyond the universe. This is their research paper, by the way. This is the entirety of it, and this is the format. 65% to level 5 with a minute left. Let me give this a read for you guys. There is only one universe. That's a claim. That's a claim right there. Doesn't even attempt to cite that. There's only one universe. In this universe, we live. Universe means everything, all included, whatever it may be. This universe has created sections. We live in a section. This section is enclosed by strong shielding. The strong shield may be atmosphere, or it may be something different. Which is maybe technically an accurate statement. Something different. Thanks for the level 4 hype train, everyone. We didn't quite get to level 5. Bumble Homestead with 100-bit says, this is a middle school essay and not a very good one. Alyssa Cat 782229, thanks for 3 months, says, can't stay long, just wanted to say hi. Well, it's good to see you. Alright, so everything but one piece of clothing. So I'm probably gonna avoid the gloves today, but I'll wear everything else. This looks good with the horns. I think this is a good look. Look, I think I kind of look like an e-thought, right? Whatever. Like I'm doing all right. Tucker White says, hey, thoughts are valid too. I didn't say anything negative. To be clear. Bandana. And because we only got to level 4, no gloves. But it's cool enough today. The jacket won't bug me. And the braid is helping me stay cool too, so that's nice. Alright. Back to the article. We can't go out of this section, and nobody from the outside comes inside this section due to strong shield protection. Speculative? Almighty God has created this universe in systematic manner. Don't go against this God. If you go in a right way, what the nature suggests, you will get a very good result. If you go against the science rule, failure will be in your hand. My suggestion is go in a way what the nature suggests. If you go against the rule, you will get a bad result. For every human being, there is a definite rule to go with the nature, what the nature suggests. So if you go in the way what the nature suggests, you will get a good result. Nothing is precious than... Nothing is precious than the nature. The nature has its own rules and regulations and conditions, so we have to go with the nature, what nature suggests. Tucker White says, Christ, I don't see one goddamn comma in this quote journal, unquote. Tucker White says, also, which god? Yahweh, Allah, Thor? And Narnania Owl says, real time cube vibes, but at least that guy had some diagrams. If you go against the nature, failure will be in your fist. Conversely, if you against the rule, you will get a 100% bad result. For every human being, there is a way that he has to go in his way. If he goes against the way, definitely failure will be in his hand. So what my suggestion is that go in a way that the nature suggests. Galaxies never ever hit with another galaxy because Almighty God has created this universe in a systematic manner with the best of his capacity. If you against this God, you will get a bad result. If you go with this God, what he suggests, definitely, you will get a good result. Because nature is not simply created. God has taken so many risks to create this universe, so the important question is we have to save this universe by believing both in God and science. Galaxies never hit with one another, galaxy, because there was a strong gravitational force between every massive body in the universe. There was the chance of hitting one galaxy with another galaxy, but galaxies are not simply galaxies, they have their own atmospheres. This atmosphere keeps the all galaxies within their atmosphere safely. There is nothing beyond the universe, and the universe has sections. We live in one section. There is no end for the universe. Bittergrin says, also galaxies are hit by other galaxies. We're going to collide with Andromeda in about 100 million years or something. I thought it was billions. But yeah, galaxies do hit one another. What a brilliant man. Brilliantly creative, let's say. Let's go with that. Alright, let's move on. J.I. Lost says, my only takeaway from this so far, never try to express deep philosophical ideas in English when English isn't your native language and you're not good at it. Yeah. Alright. Let's check out Hans. What's Hans Wormhat been up to?
This is going to be a pretty quick video talking about my orange and my 33. So I was just watching whatever and saw this book pop up, and it's just the exact kind of thing that you run into for the 100th time, and it gets boring after a while. It really
Spurious symbology is evidence on the bingo card.
is that simple, that there's a bunch of people that play a bunch of inside jokes. A big part of this world is inside jokes and being in on the secret. And I think that it's a cause of, have you ever met people that have fear of being left out, but it's like crippling. They have this crippling fear of being left out of anything. It drives them insane to not be in on stuff. I think.
Does this is Hans projecting here? Because this would actually explain a lot of his particular conspiratorial delusions. For those who don't know, for whatever reason, haven't seen me cover Hans before. Hans believes that a majority of people in society are secretly in a cult or in a group together. He thinks most people on Earth are secretly transgender, which he conflates with intersex. They're of course different things. Albeit not mutually exclusive, necessarily. So anyway, he thinks most people are secretly trans or whatever, and he believes he's one of the only true cis people on the planet. So I'm wondering if those delusions come from any sort of underlying fear of, exclusion, of feeling outside of society? And I don't know why that's mixing with some sort of, insecurities about gender and gender expression and becoming this weird transvestigation thing. I don't know.
I think that comes from this whole, it's like a...
Yeah, he thinks his parents are secretly trans.
Sometimes when you see the way that these people just exist, you can tell that they have some mental issues going on. And I think that when you learn about the Orange 33 Club, a lot makes sense. The whole OCD thing, something about people that are obsessed with the little details, making sure that everything is lined up perfect. A lot of these people are so detail oriented because they're trained to look for hidden details and everything.
Is his entire idea of what OCD represents itself as, or rather presents itself as, is that entirely informed by the television series Monk? Narnandia Owl says, not to mention most people wear animal suits for a living, apparently. And Bookworm 12K with 100 bits says, have you checked out that new game Stray where you play a cat? It's pretty cool and the world and story was developed well. I've played some of it, yes. It's good.
And I don't know if that's the only cause. I think that there's probably other causes to OCD, but it just makes sense to me. I know too many people in my life, too many baffos, who are way too OCD about it. Does come out.
Okay, so now he's conflating diagnosable actual obsessive compulsive disorder with the colloquial calling people OCD when they're just being particular about something. The two things aren't the same thing.
And cleaning things, but also I've known many that everything has to be pointed everything has to be in line with one another.
Baphos, short for Baphomets. Baphomet being a used by the Satanic Temple as a representation of sort of Satan or something similar. I believe Baphomet is mentioned in the Old Testament as well. I could be wrong, though. Sort of a demonic, satanic force, often depicted with both male and female secondary sexual characteristics. So he means trans or intersex. Again, I know they are different things. I'm trans. I'm not intersex. However, I'm saying it that way because Hans does not understand the difference between the two.
It just makes sense to me that if you grew up always being obsessed with looking for the details, your mind would become weird, too obsessed with details. You're not supposed to live your life totally obsessed with looking at...
Not supposed to live your life totally obsessed with whether or not the color orange or the number 33 show up somewhere, Hans. That does sound pretty miserable.
At every photograph with a magnifying glass and looking at every person's hands to see if they're throwing a hand sign. Yeah, that's not healthy. And it is childish, but I think a lot of these people, they are really childish, and they do...
This is literally what he does! He's describing what he does, and he's not realizing it? Hans, you are the one doing this!
Have messed up minds. How many of these people are taking... This is hilarious. What's hilarious to me is if you start to notice the orange and the 33... there will be plenty of people that come and tell you to take your meds just because you notice that people on the media and people in day-to-day life have an inside joke. It's like, I don't need to take meds because I've realized That
Because
there's
it's not, Hans, it's not an inside joke. It's something benign that you are reading too far into. You are connecting things that aren't connected. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, who is this, and what has he done with the real Hans? Probably turned him into a gorilla. J-Loss. Hiccup, sorry. J-Loss says, life rules for thee, not for me. Bookworm 12K says, there's a ton of different types of OCD. There's one kind where you're obsessed about possibly being gay when you're not. Is that a real thing?
a lot of weirdos out there that are really into their inside joke. They're the ones who need help. And they're actually the ones that are all hopped up on antipsychotic medication. I don't support any of that stuff. Maybe there's some cases where that stuff really helps, but it's scary how many people out there are heavily medicated on various...
Why is it the people who need to be medicated the absolute most are the least in favor of doing so? Hans, please, get some lithium!
Pharmaceutical.
Tucker White says, everyone always talks about intersex, nobody discussed outer sex? What is this? Okay. You're where did Hans go? Well.
Pharmaceuticals. And it's just one of those weird parts of end times where you'll be out on the internet talking about, oh yeah, pay attention to Orange in 33. It's like a big inside joke. And you'll get screeched at by all sorts of people who themselves are probably taking all sorts of antidepressants. It's just weird. It's a weird, wacky.
That's a non sequitur, Hans. Me pointing out that you are pointing out things that aren't actually connected has nothing to do with me taking Lexapro. Can you explain what you think Lexapro does?
In weird world that we live in, where people yell at you and tell you you need help just because you started paying attention, and yet almost everybody around you is zonked out on pharmaceuticals and uppers and all prescribed by the doctor.
I'm guessing Hans doesn't know what SSRIs are and think they're like happy pills, like that they... It's not what they do, Hans.
Anyways, what?
They keep your brain from reabsorbing the serotonin too quickly, which makes you feel better. It's not like adding shit to your brain. Chromatic Cuttlefish said, would this count as staggering levels of hypocrisy on bingo? Yes.
What? This book, of course, this is just like... Why does a book like this even exist? This is just a giant calling card. Hey, look, I know about the secrets. Come read my book because I'm a bigger baffo than you are because I made a book, but that's orange. And that says transform and 33 steps. So they can't make it any more obvious. This is just a giant beacon for baffos. Hey, I'm a successful baffo. Come read my book.
Hans has some fucking issues. This poor man. He must have seen this somewhere. I don't know. It looks like some, bullshit self-help book that I wouldn't give a fuck about. And he must have seen this somewhere, saw it because the color orange triggers him, looked at it, freaked out, then he saw the number 33, then he saw the word transform on there, and he freaked out. Bittergrin says, my medication is what keeps me from Minecrafting myself, F you, Hans. Narnandia Amel says, that's the problem with paranoia. It kind of prevents you from getting help with it more than just about anything else.
And, yeah, the rest of the stuff... Damon John's attention to details. See, it's all about attention to details. Have you noticed?
They're talking about the things he's wearing, which is why it says that here. Does Hans not understand the context of anything he reads?
This is just one of those things. In life, on the media, not just in the media, this transcends all aspects of society. There's baffos that are dirt poor, and it's because you're either in the joke or you're not. It's a hidden knowledge thing. It's do you know to pay attention to people's hands for hand signs? Do you know about the inverted skeleton thing? Do you know about Orange 33? It has nothing to do with how much money you have.
Transvestigation in the bingo card for the inverted bones thing.
So anyways, Diamond is very close to Diamond. Diamond is 33. What is there even to say anymore? It's just a joke. It's a running joke, a running gag of this place, that 33 is one of those numbers that's going to pop up whenever bullshit is involved. And these, I don't believe in any of the salaries for professional sports players. It's just all it's the same thing as Hollywood.
What do you mean you don't believe it? They have contracts.
But presented to you as sports. I mean, I think that they really do. They really do take these people and inject them full of all the latest hormones and stuff. And it is kind of a big Space Jam monster freak show at a certain point. But
science fiction is fact for believing that Space Jam is predictive programming.
it is still orchestrated. People...
Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam. Come on and slam, if you wanna jam.
People are playing.
I also get the latest hormones. I just pick them up from my pharmacist, though. Tucker White says, yeah, I'm sure the Phoenix Suns are a satanic organization because they offered DeAndre Ayton a max contract.
Parts. There's, if you aren't familiar with Cam Bees, it does stuff on people playing multiple parts, and especially like NBA players. Kobe never died. He's just playing a part of somebody else now.
Who's Kobe playing?
So I don't believe in when they say somebody gets paid 133 million. No, that's just a made up number.
133 is a real number.
And it has the 33 in there. And this is everywhere. Like this just reminded me of...
No, 33 isn't numerology. 33 is still spurious symbology. Numerology would be if someone were to take numbers and say this equals this, and this equals that, and this equals that. 33 is symbology. I know it's numbers, but he's just using 33 because he thinks 33 is representative of 33rd degree Freemasons. So it's not numerology if it's 33. I know it seems like it would be, but it's not. It is Freemasons, though, so you can have Freemasons.
In
Freemasons and spurious symbology.
In King of the Hill, what do you think Hank Hill's number was when he played football? Yeah, number 33. It's just everything. Like, why? Hey Arnold.
I often hide global conspiracies and Mike Judge animated features. Narnia Owl says, Hans is not down with leet speak, I guess.
Gerald, for no reason. Hey Arnold's best friend has a 33 on his shirt. Just no explanation. So this is kind of interesting. I just have some space stuff. Space has so much orange stuff, has so much 33 stuff. It's because that's the inside joke. You either know about it or you don't. They tell their children about it when they're young. I remember about, 5th grade, 6th grade, right about middle school age, they start to...
Yeah, I'll get a call for an uprising stuff taken off the thing. I'm sorry. We don't cover them anymore. I need to remove those.
Illuminate certain individuals. About middle school age, that's when I remember other BAFO. I mean, I wasn't a part of it, but...
If you get call stuff and it's really fucking up your card because it's my fault for the call stuff, feel free to, re-roll your card. That's okay.
My middle school, full of them.
But only for that
high
reason,
school, full of them. Everybody's high school is full of these people. They're all over. And all it takes is knowing certain jokes or certain things like bone structure, human anatomy. So middle school is when I remember children pointing out, oh, this finger's long. Oh, look at your fingers. That one's long. They were being illuminated into digit ratio, something about human anatomy.
You think that's bad? Wait until they tell you if your hand's bigger than your face, you have cancer. Got 'em.
And at the same time,
Hans is taking dumb middle school bullshit literally and thinking it is real.
maybe a little bit before that, I remember my sister was always wearing this bright orange Reese's peanut butter
Dead celebrities alive for Kobe? Sure. Yep. He's not fighting the cabal, but that's close enough. I'd count that.
cup shirt. And it's because that was the time that they told her, hey, orange is like a thing. And I have other stories too about hand signs where children, even younger than that, they teach the hand signs younger. I mean, this is one interesting aspect of BAFO. Red Lodge versus Blue Lodge stuff is always very, very interesting. But also, what I find interesting is thinking back and realizing when they're telling the children certain things. Because the hand signs start really young, and I don't think that they tell them exactly what it all means. It's more of like a haha, put your hands like this for the picture really quick. But they probably start to teach them that stuff. And anyways, the orange, I believe, comes about like elementary school, and then middle school, when their bodies are going through their changes. The higher up ones are giving their children either, quote unquote birth control, which they don't really need it to control their birth at all, or starting to inject testosterone, or even worse than that is when they give them the topical stuff, because anyway, this is
Forced feminization on the bingo card! Chromatic Cuttlefish, I was more into certain other female ratios when I was in high school. We never get forced femmed. In fairness, this is also forced mask, but he thinks both are happening, so...
It's a big topic, but it's all so ingrained into this Orange 33 thing, because it's just, there's this parallel society. It's the whole Hogwarts thing. Why do you think stuff like...
He said testosterone, I know, but he also said birth control pills, and I think he thinks birth control pills are the same thing as just the estrogen that trans people take. He's a very confused boy, and he thinks that everyone is secretly trans, or at least a lot of people are.
That just, people love it. Stuff like Harry Potter, you can tell that it was like made to be an allegory of what's going on with the whole parallel. There's the Muggles, and then the people who know.
Hans believes that Harry Potter was written as a secret trans allegory. Hans. How can you be this wrong accidentally?
About magic. But it's so simple.
Exasperated Hannah, not Dies of Laughter, though. You would know if it was Dies of Laughter. I wouldn't be able to stop.
That children can do it. Orange 33. 32 going on 33. What do you know? Right around when Hubble's 33 years old. And 32.
Hans, you know 33 comes after 32, right? There's always going to be a 33. If it's that old, it's that old.
You can think of it as an inversion of 23. And I previously talked about 2 3s as 33. But also, I think they really like 32 because it's like going on. 32 going on 33. It's the number right before 33.
It also gives you, in this example, lets you say 32 means something even though you really need it to be 33, but you're like, it's close enough, so I'm still going to be crazy about it.
It's like we're about to, they're ushering in the new 33. It's the right before. Anyways, so you see 32 a lot. I see 665 up here a lot. Because I think it's like 665 going on the next one. It's all bullshit. According to the space agency, you can think of Hubble as able to only see toddler galaxies, while JWST can spy baby galaxies. They're babying you. if you ever see them talking about sugar or spoons, it's like spoon feeding you, sugar coating things, they're baby talking you, they talk.
They're literally just saying that it can see older, like, galaxies earlier because it can collect light from further back in time, Hans. That's it. Chromatic Cuttlefish says yes, and 668 is the neighbor of the beast. Oh, wait, no. A couple of nerds says, do we know how old Hans is? Is he under 33 currently? Can we expect an unhinged video on his 33rd birthday? I have no idea.
Talk about these ideas a lot.
Yeah, we can say numerology, I guess, now. That's fine. We were going to get to another numerology thing later anyway.
Vastly different capabilities. To create the spell binding. Why they are very, very specific about the words that they choose. Spell binding. Why would they choose that for a science article? So it's things like that.
Because it's a word that describes what they mean?
That you just have to start paying attention to. There's a reason that school tries to make this stuff seem so boring and only apply to literature, because they absolutely don't want you thinking critically.
Hans didn't pay attention to school, so he blames a cabal instead of the fact that he maybe had, like, undiagnosed learning disorders or something. Like, come on.
In a pop science article like this, they don't want you to think, why would they choose the word spell binding here? Anyways, they'll admit that they're all fake, the images. This also explains why many pictures of the same cosmic object can look vastly different. Oh, they're just covering their you-know-what here. I should have included, there's this thing, have you guys seen it? There's this image from Hubble, and then the James Webb also did an image, but the thing is that somebody found out that it's actually image of a coastline. I forget where. I should have put it in this video, but there's basically they take quote unquote satellite imagery, which they probably just get this stuff with balloons. There was this satellite imagery of a coastline, and it matches perfectly with what NASA is passing off as some nebula or something. So yeah, they take stuff and switch it up in Photoshop and sell it to you.
Let me see if I can Snopes that. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da-da. Don't think Snopes has an article about it yet, so I don't even know the source of the claim that he's making, so I can't really talk about it until I find out more. Wherever he went, he's around here somewhere. There he is.
Okay. Just listen to the way...
Oh, by the way, yeah, Thrashmio says we can deepfake full-on faces talking to text prompts. Why would we need to Photoshop coastlines to fake galaxies and stars? Yeah, that makes zero sense. Speaking of which, though, I did sign up for the waiting list for that DALL-E 2 thing, so hopefully in the future that's something we can play around with on stream.
That they talk. Technically nothing more than practice runs. We're making discoveries and we really haven't even started trying yet. Well, NASA has not yet released a fresh target, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the TRAPPIST-1. It's a trap. It's a trap. The TRAPPIST-1 system. Whatever. they always have to like, oh, maybe there's something scary going on, but really, if you look at outer space stuff, they are so often taking the piss, having a good laugh. They're on the ISS, they do nothing except play with their food and chuckle and bring 5 flutes up there and bring gorilla costumes up there. It's all a good chuckle, but they'll write in these scenarios, oh, but it's spooky, or they'll come out with the Apollo whatever thing. They make one of them spooky and they make a video, a movie out of it.
The fuck is he talking about?
Anyways, there's so much 33 stuff. There was something that keeps popping up. I keep seeing people talking about, oh, the universe is 13.7 billion years. I don't know, I think I have another screen cap later, but 137 is a number you see pop up a lot. It's a good bullshit number for these people because 137 is the 33rd prime number. So that's what they tell you how old the universe is. 13.7 billion. What do you know? The 33rd prime number.
Tucker White with a link.
Quit boring. You're boring everybody. Quit boring
I get it.
I'm already bored
Andy Pretzel says Hans comes off as the type to think Star Wars was
of this.
real.
Are you guys bored? Illustration. They have a lot of illustrations. June 15th, 2022. Allegedly 2 things that
Mash
are 33 light
Bandicoot,
years away.
thanks for 2 months.
Look at this. Okay, so this is pretty special. NASA loses contact with Capstone. Capstone. That's a big symbol for Illuminati. Why was the $33 million spacecraft launch? July 6th, 2022. Anytime. They will be pumping out articles with 33s.
I'm guessing Hans just types 33 into Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever and looks for articles with 33 and then goes, look how many articles with 33 they are. Not understanding. Yeah, you could type any number into Google and get a lot of articles about it. Because there's a lot of articles written every day about everything.
All the time. They never get tired of it. CRS-25, so named because it's the 25th cargo mission that SpaceX has launched, is scheduled to remain docked at the...
This shows the coastline comparison with the thing. Gotcha. Oh, that's not exact at all. Why did he say it was exact? It's not. They're vaguely similarly shaped, but no. They're not even close to being exact. Is the person who made that fucking blind?
The ISS for 33 days. I talked about this in a previous video, I think, but I don't...
Jan Loss says he should try typing in 666. The search results are far more interesting. 100%. Every time Hans looks at anything on the internet, he control Fs and looks for 33s.
I don't know. Maybe they do this all the time. A weird 33 count. Start counting back at 33. The team originally planned to count down to T minus 33 seconds and then recycle back 10 minutes. I talked about something like this earlier. They like that idea. So this is a pretty recent thing. Orion's service module provides propulsion capabilities that enable Orion to go around the moon and back on... Oh my gosh. Yeah, like the hey diddle diddle, whatever. The service module...
A nursery rhyme once mentioned going to the moon. So there must be no way of going to the moon.
...has 33 engines.
J. Loss says he should try typing in... Oh, I read that one, sorry.
So this is Voyager. This came up with Voyager. What do you know? So this was some recent article about Voyager. The spacecrafts are so far away from Earth it takes 20 light hours and 33 minutes. Bullshit. These spacecrafts are 23.3 billion kilometers from Earth. More bullshit with another 33. You know, that's it. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. God bless.
Even wait to get that video over with. Damn. What a very strange video. It felt like he didn't even want to do that video. It's like he was mad he was even making it. I hope Hans is doing okay. Jeez. Alright, let's take a look at the bingo card. Oh, boy. Illuminati Freemasons. Satanic child abuse. Numerology. Forced feminization. Spurious symbology as evidence. Believes sci-fi technology actually exists. I think that's it for page 1. On page 2, we have... dead celebrity. Hannah's so exasperated all she can do is, like, put her hands, you know. Transvestigation / transphobia. Did we have Flat Earth? Who did we do was Flat Earth so far? Is that it? Cites fiction as fact. Staggering levels of hypocrisy. I think that's it. Who mentioned Flat Earth? I don't think Flat Earth got mentioned yet. Satellite images taken from balloons. That's true. He is a flat earther, and I think that's close enough to the implication. Because that's what he's referencing. So fair. First name bunch of numbers with 50 bits says the coastline thing reminds me of this little chart. I'm sure we'll soon be hearing from Hans about how Nicolas Cage must be stopped. 1 second. Oh yeah, number of people who drowned in a pool versus films Nicolas Cage has appeared in. Yeah. I think it was The Rock that did it for the most part. Maybe a little bit of Face Off. A little bit. Let's take a look at some giants. This guy thinks these are giants.
We are going to see a bunch of pictures of the remains of petrified titans in the world. Let's see. First of all, this one, as you can usually see, it's always about the eyes and the nose and the mouth, which is very much what you can distinguish in each picture. I'm going to see approximately 60
Chai all
pictures
the time.
from
Thanks for
different
following.
parts of the world. And then in the end, I'm just going to give you a comment so you don't laugh at me or consider me just a useless conspiracy theorist in the basement of my grandpa. Anyway, so again,
too much natural lighting. I don't think you're in the basement.
the eyes and the nose and the mouth reflect a bunch of things.
What's it called? Pareidolia? Is it pareidolia? Pareidolia? Something like that. When you see faces and different objects in patterns, like in nothingness. That's a thing.
That you ask yourself the question, why the heck a bunch of huge
You're like seeing shapes in clouds, basically, but rocks.
rocks that go beyond the word giant. You can't actually say giant anymore because giants have a maximum height of usually 7 to 10 meters, maybe 15 meters, but these look...
The 15's rare, though, okay? Your average giant's gonna range more towards the 12 end, okay? I know a lot about giant science.
more like titans. Titans are like Titanic, you know, Titan goes beyond giant.
I've seen Godzilla.
And most of the times you see the heads. Sometimes you see other shapes that look like something else, maybe artificial structures. Sometimes you see bodies, but big majority of times you see the head with the nose and the eyes and the mouth, and that is mighty amazing, to be honest.
Like, I think they're very cool looking rock formations, to be clear, but that's all they are. Things can look like something and not be the thing. Plenty of rocks look like things, but aren't the thing that they look like. Same as when a cloud looks like an elephant. That doesn't mean there's an elephant up there. It means your human pattern-seeking brain is used to going, how do I identify an elephant? Well, it has a trunk, it has 4 legs usually, it has these big ears, it has this shape. Your brain then sees that reflected somewhere else, and your brain goes, oh, that looks like an elephant, even though it's not, because it's the same patterns that lead you to identify an elephant as an elephant are leading you to identify a cloud as an elephant. So for instance, in this case, he's thinking of human skulls or skeletons. So like, he's looking for 2 holes right here, maybe a 3rd hole right here, or slits or something. Even better if there's some sort of dividing right here that kind of looks like a jaw, because those are patterns we use to look at something and go, that's a skull. But that doesn't mean everything with those patterns is a skull. Tucker White says, Redneck Hannah, don't spout them common numbers at me, boy. Speak American. And our 90 Owl says, just hope he doesn't start making poop noises. I don't think he will. He doesn't have the same degrees as Mud Fossil University guy, so he doesn't have the authority to make the fart noises yet.
When you just see like a couple of pictures, like maybe maximum 10 pictures, you're gonna say, okay, it's pareidolia. They just look like that because that's how nature works and stuff. But then when you see dozens, and then you go over 100, and you see 100.
There are more than 100 rock features in the world. Let me tell you, there's more than 200, 300, 1,000, 10,000. There's more than 1 million. So some percentage of those, if you look at them the right way, are going to trigger those pattern-seeking parts of your brains. You're selecting them specifically. You're looking for them. So even though it feels like there's so many of them, it's just because there's a ton of rock in the world. There's so much you'd never be able to see it all. So when you're selecting for this one thing, it feels like it's so much when really it's an infinitesimally small percentage of all rocks. That makes it much clearer that yes, it is not only happenstance, it's your brain reading into patterns that aren't what they think they are. Chromatic Cuttlefish says there's a whole separate neural subsystem specifically for picking out faces, which is why we tend to see them so often in rocks and pieces of toast. MH Darkbeast says, of course your giant scales depend on type. That's true. That's true. God, I love D&D. What day is it? Tuesday? 2 more days till I get to go play D&D again.
Hundreds of pictures. Questions come into your mind, and you say, why is it like this everywhere in every country, or most of the countries, and the big majority of the mountain ranges, right?
Most countries have rocks.
If they're not...
How's the trailer for the D&D movie? I liked it. I thought it looks fun. Looks like they're basically trying to do Guardians of the Galaxy set in a D&D universe. I'm mostly gonna go to see the creatures and spells and stuff depicted like in a movie. That's what I want. Like I saw the owlbear. The druid turned into an owlbear in the trailer, and that was cool, seeing an owlbear like in live action, or, CG that's supposed to look live action. So, I think that'll be cool, seeing that, seeing the gelatinous cube, different spells being done that I'm very familiar with.
Titanic trees that were destroyed, and then you see like the hexagonal shapes of the fibers of the tree, just like you see in our woods.
I'm gonna call it right now. D&D movie sleeper hit. It's gonna make more money than people expect, and people are gonna be surprised, and a lot of it's gonna be driven by D&D groups going to see it opening weekend, or maybe the second weekend, as a fun thing to do as a group. Tucker White says, if he's seeing giants and rocks, he's probably being effed on by the Mora family? Don't get it.
There were like titanic woods and titanic forests, and of course if you have titan trees and titan animals, you have titan humans, and it's everywhere. There are a bunch of them. So I'm not saying that all of them are true. I don't know. I do not know if all these pictures are edited digitally, or if they're photoshopped or not.
That one might be photoshopped.
In the case that they are, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just like showing you pictures that some other people have edited and they shared online. But if they are not edited and they're just a bunch of places in random places in the world in the middle of nowhere, for example, even
Literally just pareidolia? Yep.
like reptilian skin of titanic beings, if they're real, then now you know what we are and where we live in the past. Some of them, I don't even have to say that this looks like a vagina and the intimate parts of a female.
The Kavusi. We've discussed the Kavusi before.
To say that this looks like a vagina and the intimate parts of a female, of a woman. Anyway, people can laugh, of course, and you can say whatever you want. I just find it mighty impressive and very amazing. We also see titanic animals like elephants and horses and dragons and turtles and pigs and
That's a hedgehog.
I know, all sorts of like things. Dragons are mighty impressive. Call them dragons or dinosaurs, like the real stuff, and not what we have been brainwashed by Jurassic Park and all these things about the classical dinosaurs. And titanic snakes, just like in the legend. I mean, come on, when you see these things,
They're called basilisks.
nature doesn't do this, right? And frogs and a bunch of stuff. So yeah, and camels as well in the deserts. Some of the structures are like crocodiles, for example. Some of the structures look exactly like a
That one's a Photoshop. That one's 100% a Photoshop.
living being. Some of them, they look artificially created, and
Trinity Owls says, so who turned off all the creatures into stone like this? Medusa?
then they were petrified or destroyed. This
It could be any Medusa-like creature. What are they called? Because Medusa's the specific one. But that's a whole kind of monster. I'm blanking. Gorgon! Thank you! It could have been a different Gorgon.
this crocodile, titanic crocodile, looks like just impressive. Or some places in the world, when you
That's literally a city! What do you... Why? It's a city, you idiot!
look at them, you can just see the shape of a giant, no, not even giant, of a titan human body, and that's how they build the houses, right? Or in the middle of nowhere, just like a bunch of trees and bushes,
I often build my city on the corpse of a titan.
and then the rock has a
I
human
would like to unsubscribe from this anime, please.
face. So you can tell me if all of these are fake and edited. Whoever did this online and like shared everything online, they did a brilliant job. I mean, call them like the secret services who post these online or whatever, because that's the only thing I can think about, because a common mortal human being who goes to work every day, they wouldn't have the time to do this. So
What? You don't have time to post things on the internet? You're literally posting things on the internet. Honest Noir says, this is also not how fossilization even works. Please, dude, read one book.
again, vagina and I don't even have to say it, right? So
Butthole. The word you're looking for is butthole.
and you know, when you go on a road and then you see the mountain, you know, horizontally, you miss it, like you don't realize, and you switch it vertically, and all of a sudden you see a titanic, giants are like small now, titans with nose, eyes, and mouth, and forehead and everything else. Again, bridges, these are not shaped by erosion. This is no erosion by wind or like water. This is like something else that was there. Cataclysmic atomic nuclear bombs or something like that because of the wave expansion and the wave explosion, they leave this like that. I know. Again, here you have like an animal, a horse, and mud, and then you have like the same stuff there, just as a comparison. A titan lying on the ground with like a big belly and a head, and then a human as well. So again, it's you see these things and questions come to your mind. For the big majority of people, they would just laugh and say it's coincidence. For me, it's not coincidence anymore, and I guess for a big majority of people as well who follow these things. And it's
Does the earth have flames coming out of its butthole? I get that reference.
It's just the reality that it is. We are a genetically modified human race, very small, and before us there were giants, and before the giants there were titans. And I'm not saying anything. So I find the pictures absolutely impressively amazing. I'll leave it to you to decide whatever you wish to decide. And I hope you enjoyed the pictures. And if I find more stuff and more pictures and more photos, I'll share it with them so that we can keep on being amazed. Because we like to be amazed, right? So I'll see you guys next video.
Oh boy, that guy needs some help. Yikerinos. This guy also a flat earther? Alec Holland says, are you trying to say New Hampshire old man in the mountains wasn't an actual giant? Y'all is just ignorant. Let's learn about some fake history, shall we? MH Darkbeast says that I'd toss a cleanse for your reaction. We finally got some big return in Season 2. Oh, okay, yeah, we can watch this real quick. It's a trailer for Chucky Season 2.
What ever happened to Chucky?
Jake, where the hell are you? You're the only one I can talk to about what really happened.
It's been a really tough year.
Are you as happy as you made me?
Who is this? And why the hell are you calling?
To make sure you're home.
Miss Cross, Mr. Evans, and Mr. Wheeler. Do you know why you're here? I know your history. It's just a doll.
When do we get to start stabbing people?
No matter what, he's gonna come for us again.
Oh, I hate that doll. Earn the epiphany to get what's coming to her.
Glenda, come to Mama.
Let go.
Dear sweet godmother of Hail Mary, Jesus.
This is for Kyle! No!
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna pray? Just looking at me is scary enough to give you a heart attack? Oh my God, thank you. Subscribe, damn it. I'll be back.
That looks good. I'm excited. I like Chucky. I'm glad Glenn and Glenda are coming back. That's fun. Where was the video we were gonna watch? There it is. Tucker White says, okay, fess up. Which of you in here is going around and carving up these rocks to fuck with him? Bittergrin says, just to point it out, they're pretty sure at least the most famous womb cave was intentionally carved. That's interesting. And Tucker White says, hold up, did I just see some gay? Yeah, the main character of the Chucky show is a gay teenager. Alright, let's learn about what this guy thinks is fake history.
Have you ever had the feeling that history as it is presented to us doesn't truly make sense, or there are some glitches in the timeline? Well, if you did, then you're going to like this video, because I'm going to show you some proof how they erased 1,000 years from history just like that. Coming up.
Cult Comics says the army of Chucky was planned to happen in the second movie. They didn't have the budget, and it's been tooled around for years. They've tried a few times to put it into something, but we're finally getting it. Cool.
I'm living in a sequel where my soul adjusts well.
I love when they do their own theme songs.
Anywhere I am not fine. It's not my world, it's not my
It was this video that actually first started me researching this topic. And this is where I got to know about the trick they used to erase 1,000 years history. And if you want to check this out, then I highly recommend this Stage Centuries Part 1 to Part 3 by Live Creations. So I'm going to link this video in the description. So let's get into this. First of all, let's talk about Jesus. Jesus is a figure that was invented, and he have never lived. There is no proof that he lived, and there are so many contradictions in the Bible that makes this figure's life highly improbable.
Okay, this is a whole complicated discussion. I can talk about my feelings on this from what I understand, but I am a layperson. I do not have the credentials to actually discuss anything like this with credibility, nor does this guy. But I just want to correct some of the things he's saying. He's a mythicist, yes. The historicity of Jesus is a topic that comes up, as you might imagine. I think the general agreed upon idea is that there was a figure, probably by the name of Yeshua, that was a teacher, a rabbi in the area. Many of the events depicted in the Bible did happen, sans the magic part. But he was a political figure that was probably crucified, right? And it may have pulled from other, like, individuals from the time or something and kind of combined into this mythicized version of Jesus. But even I, who am not religious, think that there was an individual that was Jesus, air quotes. How much that character is reflected in the character written in the Bible, completely different story. But I do believe there was, like, a teacher, a religious teacher, who had some radical ideas for the time, who started Christianity. Mike Mack says, are Glenn and Glenda born as twins, or are different personalities of Glenn? They were born as twins, and then Glenda's soul was split into them? Beyond that, I don't know. I'm sure the show will explain it more. Tucker White says, of course Jesus is real. He's one of the people corporate ghouls use to pick our fruit.
So, if you go down on this Wikipedia article and go down to etymology, you will see that this Jesus character was a Jew and had only one name and so on. But the interesting thing I want to show to you is how it is in the original.
H-Bird says, are you saying there wasn't a zombie uprising in Jerusalem in 33 AD that no source other than the Bible ever mentioned? Yeah, that's an interesting one. The latest of the Gospels that was written includes basically zombies. That's not a great way to encapsulate it, but involves elders of the church who have been long dead rising from the grave and lots of people seeing it. It's the least believable of the crucifixion gospels, if I'm being honest. DJ Shea says, to quote a PhD in religious studies and history of religion, messiahs were a dime a dozen at the time of Jesus. Yeah.
Greek. Because what we have now in the New Testament is Greek. So some people say that originally it was it was Hebrew, it should have been, if it was real, but
the Old Testament is Hebrew, but yeah, the original New Testament, I believe, was written in Koine Greek.
Since it wasn't real, I believe Greek was the original language. It was written in Greek. And this is the name that is written in Greek, which is transliterated to English as this. So this is Iesos, okay? Obviously, this name has been then anglicized to Jesus, so that's another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, but the more accurate translation would be Yeshua, which I assume he's going to go into, but that's like a known thing.
And his title was...
which the anglicized Yeshua would be Joshua. So a more accurate anglicized version of the name of Jesus would not be Jesus, but Joshua, for those who don't know.
As the Anointed One, which is in Greek, Christos, transliterated to English as Christos, but this is the word in Greek. Now the important thing is the first letter, J, and then here I, and here it's X. So these three letters are very important because we know that this fictional character has been used to create a timeline for us that we believe is now 2019. Okay, so we are calculating our timeline from this Gregorian calendar, and they used the life of Jesus, or the basically his birth, and from then we count our timeline, okay, from a fictional character, okay. And so we could say we are calculating our timeline from J, or from I, or from X, right? From Christ, or from Jesus, or from ESOs in the Greek. Now I want to show you another proof. Here's Blue Letter Bible, which is a Bible where you can see the Greek or the Hebrew original next to the English. And here it is Christ, Christos with the X, and Jesus is not really the one that is written in the Greek, but as you can see, it is ESOs with the I. Okay, so here's your proof. You can have a look at it. I will link these in the description of the video. Now I want to show you this guy called Abraham Ortelius, who was a creator of the first modern atlas, and it was called Theatrum Orbis Terrarium. What a great name. It is a theater of the world, basically. So this guy lived from 1527 to 1598 or 1598. Did he really? Let's check it out. So let's open Abraham Ortelius, and this is one of his map. I want to show you this. So Orbis Terrarium, and I think this must be the theater. I don't speak Latin, but I think it is probably Latin. So okay, now if you go and look at the bottom of
No More Status Quo, thanks for 8 months, says this is what you get when you prioritize praying to a flag in Bible school over public education.
This map, this is where the interesting thing is, because it says the date. The date is J574. It doesn't really look like a 1, does it?
Is he literally gonna say that even though it clearly says 1574, that it was in 574 because he thinks the 1 looks too much like a J? Is that the entirety of the point of this conspiracy? Is he thinks that 1 is too flourishy and looks like a J? Holy fuck, I hate. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, here is some word salad about Greek translation. Now I will switch to another random subject. Hydrate. Will do.
It really looks like a J, which is for Jesus. So basically...
No! You dumb cunt! There's already a word! It's fucking AD, you idiot! BC and AD!
1574, 1574. It was 574, and our nice and clever and smart historians who wanted to mislead us to believe we are in 1574, they translated the J as 1, but it truly...
Does he think this is the only map that existed in the year 1574?
It isn't. Let's look at the next one. This is his other map. Maris Pacifici, or how it is called, I don't know exactly how it is pronounced, but here is the deal at the left corner.
Look, that 1 doesn't look like a J at all! What's he gonna say about this one?
Okay, so here's the date. I-589. Does this...
It's not a goddamn I! It's a 1, you stupid asshole!
It will look to you like a 1. It doesn't look to me like 1. It is an I. So it is 589 after ESOs, okay? Nice. let's look at our next subject.
I've never seen someone make such a concerted effort to be wrong in my life.
This guy is called Levinus Hulsius. Again, these names are really difficult to pronounce, so I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing them correctly, but I'm trying my best. This guy apparently lived in 1546 and died in 1606, okay? And he was also a publisher, printer, linguist, and lexicographer, and I think he was also a cartographer. Okay, so let's look at his work. Levinus Hulsius. Let's open that folder up. And here is a map by this guy. And let's look at the year, shall we? It is now at the top. This is clearly an I, not a 1. So again, it was 5.
I don't know, that 5 looks a little bit like an S to me. So maybe it wasn't I or J or whatever 598. Maybe it was like IS98 and it was just the year 98. And honestly, now that I think about it, that 9 kind of looks like a G. So maybe it's just ISG and it's in the year 8. Or maybe it's not a year at all and it's ISG Tiny Snowman. Maybe they didn't even use numbers for their dating system. Who knows?
598 after ESOs. Okay, so you see how they are inventing 1,000 years here? I again, and I again, and all the years here start with an I instead of a 1. No problem, let's go to the next one. This guy is called Nicolaas van Gilkerken. Sounds like a Dutch guy. And he apparently lived from 1585 to 1656. And he was a cartographer, and I think this is in Dutch, so that's why I can't even read what is written here. But I can see cartograph and I can see the date. Okay, so let's go to his folder. And if we open up his map, then we'll see the same thing. Okay, so this is his map. I just wanted to point it to the middle. That's how it looks like. And if you go here, zoom in here, America, you will see a J499.
It's 1499.
J587, and if we go to the other side, here it's even separated.
It doesn't even make sense. It's so weird to me, because think about it. What he is basically saying is, imagine if on, like, when, for instance, I had to go to the bank today, right? So I went to the bank and I had to do some paperwork for something, and they handed me a thing to sign and date. So I wrote down the date, which is 7/26/2022. Imagine if they handed that back to me and said, oh, can you throw AD on here? We don't want to get confused about if it's 2022 AD or BC. Why would you need to put anything that signifies AD or BC on a document like this? That's unnecessary.
I don't want to zoom in too much because then it is too pixelated, but here you can see the J and it's quite separate from the 632.
I wish I could go back in time to when this person was making this intricate map with all sorts of art on it and be like, hey, can you make the 1 a little less squiggly? An idiot. An idiot about 500 years from now is going to use this to say some really dumb shit. Okay, so please just make it clear what the date is.
So, I mean, you can clearly see this is not a 1, right? It's clearly a J or I. Okay, so next subject is going to be August Ludwig von Schlözer. And this guy lived from 1735 to 1809. He was a German historian and he was studying Russian history. Okay? And apparently this picture was taken in 1779. So let's look at his folder. August Ludwig von Schlözer. And here's an interesting picture that I found, which is...
Grant Cuttlefish says, Jesus saves Christ on a bike. The current year is also 2775. Anno Urbis Condite and 1443 Anno Hergier in the Islamic calendar. There are multiple historical dating systems.
Another portrait of him, but if you look at this date, you can see the eye and even a dot above the eye. So it is clearly not the one. So it is I-735, and here again I-798. So this guy lived in 736, 798. These are the dates. That is his date range, not 1700. So the one is invented, 1000 years clearly invented. Next one is Adam Olearius.
H. Barrett says, on the flip side, as someone with work that's been published, I look forward to people centuries after I've died trying to argue that things I've labeled weren't labeled correctly.
Olearius. This guy apparently lived from 1599 to 1671, and he was a German scholar, mathematician, geographer, and librarian. Okay, so let's look at his folder. Adam Olearius. This is from this image here from Wikipedia, and look at this. This is the guy, or who knows, maybe this is not the guy, but this is related to him. Let me check. Actually, Russian boyar from one of Adam Olearius' books. So this is one of his books, it seems. Okay, so one of his books, and if we look at this closer, we can clearly see the I here. I-6.
It's a 1. What would be the benefit of inventing 1,000 years, by the way? I'm still not clear.
156. This is not a 1. This is not 1656. It is I for ESOs 656. Interesting. So let's have a look at the next subject, who is Petrus Plancius or Plancius. And he was a Dutch-Flemish astronomer, cartographer, and clergyman. He lived from 1556 to 1622. Really? Let's have a look at his folder. Petrus Plancius. Okay, so he has a nice map as well, it seems. And this is the map. And here we go. Let's look at the date. Can you see the date here? This is clearly an I. You can see.
No, it's not! And is it an I or a J? You thought the first one was a J. Sometimes they use J and sometimes they use I. How is that interchangeable?
See the curve from top and at the bottom. This is not a 1. This is an I 594. So, yeah, that was him. Now let's look at the last subject, which is
DJ Shea says, according to the great Anatoly Fomenko, the invention of 1,000 years is to deny the eternal glory of Russia, the progenitor of all civilizations, philosophies, and religions. Fomenko actually believes this, though, and his whole ass museum for it. No fucking way.
Is,
Yes, he thinks that it's the year 1022 instead of 2022. Wait till he learns about Roman numerals.
Petrified, okay? So I have his his map here, but it's not very
I'll
good
look at the link
quality,
in a sec.
I would say. And
Thanks
that's
for
why I
the
wanted
new
to show you
chronology
this
thing. I'll look at it
other
in a sec.
link that I found. I'm not even sure where it was. Let me check. Yeah, here it is. So here at America we can see Anno Domini. So it's clearly about a date, and this is I492 and I499. But it's not really clear here, so let's have a
JP
look.
Black, thanks for 10 months.
This is the same map
Thank you,
I found
people explaining
on
the
BLR,
IJ thing.
raremaps.com. So I will put this in full screen, and I'm going to zoom in here, and you will see it clearly. This is not an I. This is this is not a 1. This is clearly an I. You can see the curve at the top and at the bottom. Again here, this is an I. I for ESOs 499. And if we get out of the full
Has he never seen the 1 written with the thing before?
screen, we will see that this was actually published, was supposed to be published in 1608 or 1628. I'm not sure why the difference here in brackets, but clearly the 17th century. And here you will see that the...
Yeah, you can see he dots his eyes, you're correct. You can see in Regis, you can see in Cree, whatever that is, Domini, you can see that all the eyes look different than what he's claiming is an eye. Undercover Beast says, Hannah, just please tell him there's a whole bunch of eye characters literally right next to the one he's calling an eye. Help this poor man, Hannah. I'm good.
Date is I, not 1. So clearly they have been playing mind games on us, and just like that hit 1,000 years, and for a certain reason, because if we are disconnected from our history and we believe a certain narrative, we can be manipulated. That's what I believe. But there could be other reasons, and I would be interested what your thoughts on this is. So see you on the next one. Bye.
I hate that guy. Alright, let's see what else we got.
This is Tony, and I have an awesome video for you today, folks. Got a lot of really cool technology to show you.
Screaming at the Radio says, what's next to 1492 is Christopher Columbus literally giving him the context proving that it's full 1492. Well, he thinks that that happened in 492. That's his point.
From the distant past, or maybe not so distant past. 1800s, is that the distant past? Could you imagine some of these technologies I'm going to show you? Did you know that they actually had Skype back in the 1800s, late 1800s?
They did not.
Yeah, actually they did. They actually have a lot of the technologies we have today that we think is super awesome and high tech, like electric cars. They had that in the early 1900s, late 1800s as well. I'm going to show you a lot of things actually here. I think it's going to blow your mind, okay? I actually do. Here we have an advertisement, and it's being translated here, 1936 in this case.
Are we just assuming his translation is correct, or that this translation in this image macro that was probably posted to 4chan, we're supposed to assume that this is a correct translation?
The film, television, talk station for the Postal Service, and actually that's interesting, the Postal Service seems to be a factor that's between a lot of these. You can speak to your bride in Munich, but also see her. Let me show you a picture. Does this look like something from the early 1900s? And actually, let me show you here. It's actually before, it's around 1930 here in 1920.
Let's see if we can find anything about this. 1935 German video phone. Closed-circuit videophone systems, 1936 to 1940. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, "Oh, Buddha, we're going to get Baghdad batteries again, aren't we?" In early 1936, the first public video telephone service, Germany's visual telephone system, was developed by Dr. George Schubert, who headed the development department at Furnish AG, a technical combine for television broadcast technology. 2 closed-circuit televisions were installed in the German Reichspost post offices in Berlin and Leipzig and connected together via dedicated broadcast coaxial cable to cover the distance of approximately 100 miles. The system's opening was inaugurated by Minister of Posts Paul von Eltz-Rübenach in Berlin on March 1st, 1936, who viewed and spoke with Leipzig's chief Burgomaster. Schubert's system was based on Gunter Krawinkel's earlier version of the late 1920s that he displayed at the 1929 Berlin International Radio Exposition. Schubert's higher performance system employed a Nipkow disc-flying spot scanner for its transmitter, a form of mechanical television, and an 8-inch cathode ray tube display with a resolution of 150 lines running at 25 frames per second. After a period of experimentation, the system entered public use and was soon extended with another 100 miles of coaxial cable from Berlin to Hamburg, and then in July 1938 from Leipzig to Nuremberg and Munich. Point-to-point video calling required swapping connections on a telephone switchboard. The system eventually operated with more than 1,620 miles, 1,000 kilometers, or 620 miles of coaxial cable transmissions lines. The videophones were integrated with large public videophone booths and 2 booths provided per city. Calls between Berlin and Leipzig cost RM 3.5, approximately 1/6 of a British pound sterling, or about 1/15 of the average weekly wage. Video telephone equipment used in Berlin was designed and built by German Post Office Laboratory. Videophone equipment used in other German cities were developed by Furnish AG, partially owned by Baird Television Limited of the UK. Inventors of the world's first functional television. During its life, the German system underwent further development and testing, resulting in higher resolutions and a conversion to an all-electric camera tube transmission system to replace its mechanical scanning disc. While the system's image quality was primitive by modern standards, it was deemed impressive in contemporary reports of the era, with users able to clearly discern the hands on wristwatches. The videophones were offered to the general public, which had to visit special post offices, videophone booths for far-sighted speech place in German, simultaneously in their respective cities, but which all at the same time also had Nazi political and propagandistic overtones similar to the broadcasting of the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin. The German Post Office announced ambitious plans to extend their public videophone network to Cologne, Frankfurt, Vienna, Austria, but expansion plans were discontinued in 1939 with the start of the Second World War. After Germany subsequently became fully engaged in its war, its public videophone system was closed in 1940, with its expensive intercity broadband cables converted to telegraphic message traffic and broadcast television service. A similar commercial post office system was also created in France during the late 1930s. The Deutsche Bundespost postal service would decades later develop and deploy its BigFon broadband integrated glass fiber optical network video telephony network from 1981 to 1988, serving several large German cities, and also created one of Europe's first public switch broadband services in 1989. That's really interesting. I didn't know about that. So apparently voice calling predates where I thought it did. That's very, very cool. Him comparing it to Skype is disingenuous, though. Skype is something that happens over the internet, and everyone can use a computer to do it. This, you literally had to go to a specific building at a specific time for it. So it's very impressive for the time, but it's antiquated compared to nowadays. So. What did I miss? Gnome Pickles, thanks for 5 months, says 5 months in an amazing community.
Did I say?
Yeah, the Nazis fucked a lot of stuff up.
1800s? Not 1800s on the Skype one, but 1800s on electric vehicles. Okay, I'll show you that. Actually, some other stuff too. I'm going to show you a lot of technologies, but
hydrate.
Skyping in 1935. Skyping, okay? Literally a video talk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, back in 1935. Here you have another one. I mean, look at this. Look at this, folks. This chair looks like it could easily be from the 1960s. These
Does he think chair technology changed a lot between 1935 and 1969? They're chairs.
Speakers easily look like they could be from the 1980s, 90s, even 2000s easy. Even recent, potentially. This little TV looks like easily 1960s technology. The phone is the oldest looking thing here. The phone looks pretty old. Other than that, it's absolutely amazing the amount of technology they had even in 1930. You can see here these advertisements for this service at the post office. The post office. The post office was very high tech back then. Okay? I mean, literally using electric cars as well, by the way. Oh, I thought electric cars were a new invention. Elon Musk.
What? You thought electric cars were a new invention? Are you an idiot?
Must have invented the electric car. No, actually.
No one says Elon Musk invented the electric car. Even Elon Musk doesn't make that claim, and Elon Musk lies about how much he's involved in fucking everything. What are you talking about? Your lack of education should not be the justification for you to be a conspiracy theorist. Your lack of knowledge about basic bullshit is your fault, not anyone else's.
They had electric cars a very, very long time ago. They even had scooters.
They did.
In the 1890s. I think even 18.
The batteries were dog shit, and they didn't last very long.
1880s. They had scooters. This was from the early 1900s here, this picture. But if you could just imagine the fact that they had scooters even, which of course is a new fad today. I saw a teenager...
Wait, why does he think scooters are a new fad? What is he talking about? Scooters are not a new invention, sir!
In my area riding one around. It didn't actually look much different than this. It's a little bit smaller looking.
Chiba Hawk says, check out this little fella. Check out this little fella learning history and stuff.
Yeah, not much of an improvement probably. Actually from 100 years ago. Actually more than 100 years ago. You have scooters back then. I think they had both electric and gas. So they had electric and gas scooters in like 1890, 1900. Okay? This is now seen as some sort of new technology. Ooh. Wow.
No, it's not. What is he fucking talking about? Why does he think that scooters are considered a new technology? Like, I know more municipalities are doing the public scooter thing, but that doesn't mean they're new technology, dipshit. It just means that they're using them publicly and buying a bunch for the area. What? Gnome Pickles say, sir, the library is open for all of us, not to mention the internet has plenty of information you can access for free.
Look at my scooter, you know. Look at Skype. I get to Skype all day, at work, at home. All this is so advanced and high tech.
Skype came out, like, even if we're talking about Skype came out like 15 or 20 years ago, didn't it? Like, why does he think Skype is... What?
Yeah, they were doing that almost 100 years ago.
Were they doing it at home from their laptop computer? No, they were not.
They were doing that 100 years ago.
Bittergrin says, how old is this video if this guy thinks Skype is high-tech? This is new. This came out like 2 weeks ago. This guy's just dumb.
Okay. Technology is so advanced now. Yeah. We haven't even been back to the, moon, have we? No. 1960s.
Does he not know we went back to the moon? Sir, we went to the moon multiple times. How is he wrong about everything? Ah!
What are we at now? Oh, it's almost, what is that, 60 years later? Wow. Such high tech we have today, folks. We're doing so great. Honestly, we haven't moved hardly at all. I mean, here we have a flying train back in 1901. Okay? This thing's absolutely amazing as well. You can see here.
Oh, the elevated train.
I'll just show you a little bit of this.
Yeah, it's
Look at
very
this. You
cool.
can see back then how they were a horse and buggy. Absolutely amazing. This is still in use today, by the way.
Okay.
Still in use
Trains are an incredibly reliable technology that we should use more of.
today. You can see here a statue. Look at these cities. Look at these buildings. They look far more elegant, beautiful, look more difficult to build than the ones we have today.
They're not more difficult to build than the ones we have today.
We're so advanced, folks. We're so advanced. But before we go any further, folks, I wanted to mention about my website. Link is in the description, grvideos.com. I have added a lot of videos of recent, even in the free video section, so check it out. And of course, also in the membership section, I've added quite a few as well. You have even some very recent ones, even this month, in here in the free section.
Hold on, I just gotta save this
Link
in
is
case
in the
this channel
description.
gets
Of course,
taken
also
down.
in the membership section, I have more videos and the latest stuff. $4.95 a month. First month is free. Okay. Also, I have this book here, The Lost Ways: How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity. And that may have been between the time of this video here, I'm talking about the 1800s, and then I don't know, because some wonder if they are postulated if they even had their own form of electricity or energy way back hundreds of years ago. I don't
No.
know.
Occult Comics says, trains are the future the liberals want. I'm the liberals. I want more trains. Choo 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 train. But yeah, trains are cool. Loves y'all. That's what all the bits I can offer. Thank you.
But of course, we know that those not so long ago didn't have electricity.
Yeah, selling stuff on the bingo card. It's like, hey guys, blah 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 blah, something. You'll know the space if you have it.
Might want to get the book there just in case you don't have some soon here, considering all that's going on around you. It's about $35, illustrated, hundreds of pages, how to build a cellar, how to do things around your house.
Gnome Pickles says, because my great-great-grandfather owned a car almost 100 years ago, or rather my great-grandfather owned a car almost 100 years ago, the fact that I have a car now shows that tech hasn't improved. It's very stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
Link is in the description.
As if the tech we have has not gotten better at an exponential rate.
And of course, also food supply, 25-year shelf life. Again, link is in the description. $247 for a month's worth, $747 for 3 months worth. You might want to get it while they still have it, considering their competitors have already run out of stock. Link is in the description for that, and also for gold and silver. Definitely check out all the links.
Shilling for gold! Chromatic Cuttlefish says, you could also get a subscription to Penthouse and have analog porn delivered to your home that way instead of the internet. What's this moron's point?
Below for that. It supports my channel. Let's get back to the video. Yeah, okay. Honestly, I think they may have been more advanced back then, honestly, looking at this stuff.
You'd be wrong?
Flying trains that still work today. You remember all that technology? I remember having...
He knows that... he's saying flying trains. Like, it's a suspended train that's suspended from the top. But he knows it's not magically levitating, right? Because he's talking like he thinks the train is hovering.
A water heater that was from... was it 1940 or 1960? I can't remember what it was. It was pretty old. I think it was 1960. I was in my apartment back in, I think it was like 2010, 2011, something like that. And the thing finally went out. It finally went out, okay? So after like 50 years, it finally goes out, right? Which is unlike today, which of course, if you buy a new one today, let's say it'll last maybe 10, 20 years if you're lucky. So that's kind of what the difference is in technology. You can see
it's a difference in design philosophy more so than technology. If we wanted to build a radiator or a water heater or whatever that lasts 100 years, we could do it, but it would be prohibitively expensive for the scale at which we make large-scale appliances. So usually what they'll do is they'll make something out of cheaper parts, cheaper to buy, but it's also probably cheaper to repair, and also it gets you to buy a new one in 10 years. So it's not that we're incapable of creating appliances and stuff that are incredibly durable and can last for decades. It's that the market doesn't really have an incentive to do so. Capitalism. Anti-Pretzel says planned obsolescence is a thing.
Just looking a glimpse into the past, 100 plus years ago, you can see these buildings are absolutely extravagant, beautiful. And I'm going to show you another one too in a minute here. But they say, of course, this, what was it called again? An overall, a flying train. That's what they called it. Flying train suspension railway. They say it was built in 1901. Of course, there's no record of construction. This is very common with a lot of these older buildings, and I've done many videos showing how.
I think that train was also in Germany, so yeah, again, it would be cool to have documentation, but I'm not surprised they don't have specific documentation of the construction of this train from 1901 that survived multiple government collapses in Germany, 2 world wars, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, I get why there's not record anymore.
Look at these old photos from 1850. No people almost anywhere. You got like 2 right here. Maybe these 2 are like friends of the photographer, I don't know. You got all this mud and dirt everywhere, no real roads, and you got these extravagant buildings. This is.
He knows that dirt roads used to be the standard, right? Asphalt roads weren't a thing yet. Like, it was not a thing. And stone roads were expensive, so they weren't all over the place.
It's a very common theme. Very, very few pictures where you'll see a lot of people in them in the 1850s. Almost nobody whatsoever. Empty cities.
If I take a picture of, like, my street, there'll be no one on it at the moment. Like, what does he not understand? People are inside.
The road is dirt still, though the buildings are beautiful. And even if you take it's not a long exposure camera either, because there'd be blurring and you would see something. I've seen black and white photos of long exposure cameras from today, and they clearly show.
Pretty sure, I don't know how old this camera was, but I'm just imagining the old photos where you had to expose the image for like a full 60 seconds or whatever. I was gonna say, depending on how old this image is, all photos might be long exposure photographs. And also, if it's a long exposure photograph, for whatever reason, it's on a tripod, you won't necessarily have blurring, because it's stationary relative to the image it's capturing.
Blurring on the roads when they take pictures there. So that's not actually what's going on. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is you have lots of buildings like this which have no record of being built. You have beautiful structures and advanced technology even back then, like this flying train that is pretty smooth. Even if when you watch the video, it's pretty smooth. Okay, it's not even rickety like you would when you go to a roller coaster, like at Cedar Point. You go on the Gemini, and it's like when it's.
My brother in Christ. Okay, time to put my theme park knowledge into play. Anyone who knows anything about theme parks, especially about Cedar Point specifically, is going to know what I'm about to say. If you're talking about the wooden roller coasters, which one is Gemini? One sec. Gemini, Cedar Point. It is the wooden coaster that they have left, I believe. Yep. The wooden coaster is supposed to feel rickety. That's part of it. They design it intentionally to feel that way because it's a thrill ride, not a mode of transportation, you stupid asshole. It's not rickety because they couldn't fix it. It's rickety because that's scary, and that's the point. It's the illusion of danger, you dumb fuck. Think for 5 fucking seconds before you open your mouth. I've ridden the Gemini multiple times in my life. I know about theme park things. They intentionally make it like that so it feels rickety, so it feels thrilling. It's a thrill ride.
It's a wood one.
You're right. It's not technically a wooden coaster. It's like a what's the word? Hybrid. It's a hybrid coaster because the body of the ride is wooden, but the rails themselves are metal. Correct.
You know, and this isn't even wood. This is metal. You can see it's back in, I thought they couldn't build anything out of metal back then. And of course, the more
You didn't think they could build anything out of metal back then? What?
recent roller coasters are metal. It's just kind of weird, you know. Back in the 80s, it's like wood roller coasters. Of course, they have metal.
JP Black with 45-bit says, skipped that one while I was there 2 weeks ago. However, the new one, Steel Vengeance, was awesome. I haven't ridden it. The last ride I rode at Cedar Point that was like a new ride was the Top Thrill Dragster. Top Thrill Dragster. By the way, speaking of which, since he thinks we can't build more impressive things today, if we're talking about roller coasters, the Top Thrill Dragster is way more impressive than the wooden coaster, right? This is what the Top Thrill Dragster looks like when you're riding it, by the way. It lasts like a minute. It's super quick, but it goes up really high and really fast. I've done this one twice, I think. It'll go in a sec. The thing, like it's a dragster, it's themed. Oh, yeah, it goes back a little bit. It's a short ride, but more impressive. Where'd that guy go? He's around here somewhere. Ba-da-ba. There he is. JP Black says that, and that one is closed because someone lost their life last year due to a piece breaking off. Oh my god, I hadn't heard about that. Undercover Beast says, all iron edge rails were invented in 1789. He just said he thought we couldn't build things out of metal in the 80s, because all the roller coasters were wooden. And the roller coaster he cited does have metal tracks.
Awesome flying trains back in, like, 1901, right? And then, of course, like I mentioned in a previous video, you go to the Parliament building and look at it and its construction and things like that. Let's see if I can open this. Let me just show you this. Look at this. Look at the inside of this thing. Is there anything constructed today that looks like this?
I'm sure you could find it. I don't think many people are looking to construct things like this usually because that's a particular style that isn't really popular these days. This is a huge part of, like, the Mud Flood people, is they really, really, really like this classical architecture or, like, Baroque architecture. Anything that predates modern architecture, basically. And they don't understand why anyone would prefer a minimalistic, like, look, whether it be for financial or, like, aesthetic reasons. So they just assume we can't make fancy buildings anymore, instead of we are building them for function as opposed to cultural reasons. Not to say we don't do that sometimes, by the way. Like, concert venues and, like, state buildings that are, like, governmental and stuff. Those are often built still very ceremonially and, like, with complicated architecture and stuff. But that's just not what most buildings are made to do. Most buildings are made for function. So we don't have this ornate architecture style for the most part.
Anything at all. Anything at all.
And India Owl says, plus these types of buildings took decades, if not centuries, to build. Yeah.
Right? This was built in a community of 20,000 people. 20,000 people.
And how long did it take?
Needed this structure for some reason.
Let's see. How long did it take to construct Parliament? That's not what I'm looking for. British people, what is it called? 30 years. It took 30 years to build the Palace of Westminster, which is what I think he was looking at. That's a while. I don't know if you know this, but most people want their building to be completed like in a year or 6 months or maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years if it's a skyscraper. No one's waiting 30 years for a building. in 2022.
And that's not wood, folks. It's like marble. It's rock. It's like, how did they make this? Of course, you go over here. Here's our library. I can't even show it on the picture. It's so big. Look at this library. Do you see libraries constructed like that anymore? No, you don't. You don't see anything like that anymore. You go to this building, this Parliament building, and just look around at it. I mean, it's just for 20,000 people, really. And if you go look at the construction pictures, there's hardly any construction pictures, and it looks like more like they're just adding to it, if anything. If you look at the, you don't
Buckingham Palace took 150 years total. Jesus.
actually see where they literally built it from scratch.
Hernania Owl says, for extra fun, the sandstone used for most cathedrals is very vulnerable to corrosion, so the upkeep is a nightmare too.
You see, and again, here's another example of a picture where there's almost no people in it whatsoever.
Does he not understand that people were intentionally... The photographer didn't want people in the photo. They're not photographing people. They're trying to photograph the building. Why would they want people in it?
I can't even show it on the screen all the way. Let me see. There we go. There's like no one around. It's like just built in the middle of nowhere. Oh, there's a person right there. There's like one person. It's right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse there. Yeah, so, and of course, if you look at the modern pictures, if you're not referring to a construction picture, that is, like construction picture, obviously you're not going to see any people really, other than those doing the construction. But if you look at it today, you'll see more just pictures with people, unless it's in like the back area or something, and they're doing construction or something like that. But
Dread Pirate Mick says, the Palace of Westminster is also falling apart and far too small to house the current Parliament. That's funny.
Otherwise, you're seeing often people in the pictures.
Thanks, Retro Prestige.
Getting onto, here's another picture here of the library. If I can get on the screen. All right, so let's get past that. Let's get to some other stuff here. I mean, the fact of the matter is, obviously, there's some interesting things going on with technology in the past. And, we can't even build stuff like this anymore.
Yes, we can. We just don't. It's not popular.
I don't ever see anyone build things like this anymore. They were building it all the time back then. How were they building it, And, of course, you got...
Time. Lots of time.
These ancient monuments as well that look like they're...
DJ Shea says he's talking about the Canadian Parliament building that was built between 1859 and 1876, so 17 years to build.
Melted on the top. You can see it looks like there's some heat on top of it.
Why? Why do you think there was
heat?
heat?
Certain ancient ones. You can see it's melted here.
Oh, he thinks because there's darkening of the stone that it was melted.
See here, it's melted up close.
That's not melted.
What would have gotten so close to melt it like that? These very old ancient sites. And there is one possibility, I've mentioned it before in the video, I think, is right here. It says here, the day of Yua will come as a thief, of course in the night, with heavens will pass away, and it says here, the elements shall melt with fervent heat. That means he came back. What are you saying? You already came back? Well, what if it was different than you think? What if it was that we're actually living in the time after the millennial, of course, reign? The 1,000 years. And of course, history isn't telling us everything. You have the Middle Ages or medieval times, or they call them the Dark Ages, which happens to be a 1,000-year time frame when...
DM you a reference picture for the ranger with the helmet off? Okay.
We're told that nothing really happened. This is not an important time. It was backwards. You know what I mean? Yet all these buildings, these magnificent buildings, came from that time frame. I mean, we can't even build anything like this anymore. Why is it these times are considered dull and boring and dark, full of ignorance? Yet building magnificent buildings and structures and the most beautiful paintings came from that time frame. But for some reason, it was a backwards, of course, time. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Really doesn't. And of course, what happened right before that time frame? We had a pope, Sixtus III. We're talking literally the number 6, folks. 3 times. Okay? Remember that last book in the good book says, look out for this number? Sixtus, and another Sixtus. That's who we had as Pope at the time. Around 432 AD. Very curious. Of course, there's a legend surrounding
Gnome Pickle says, why do these people have so little faith in our species? I don't know.
him that he required, of course, a mark. So you could, buy and also sell. I think you've heard that before.
So basically, he thinks we're already in biblical end times where Satan has control of the world.
That was right before this 1,000 years of Dark Ages. Dark Ages when we had the most magnificent structures built. It's kind of weird. We were told nothing happened during this time frame, folks. But it's really curious. It's really curious when you start looking into all of this. You start to learn things. Now check this out. Of course, if you look at these books that used to be in the good book, Pseudepigraphia, Apocrypha, that were removed, they're not important. Don't read them, right? It's really strange when you start looking into these books, you start to notice a pattern. Notice that they all say the same thing regarding timelines. 6,000 years. And when is the King of Kings supposed to come during that time frame, that timeline? At the 5,500 year mark. Now, if you understand the whole way the chronology is supposed to work, after 6,000 years is when you have the millennial time of 1,000 years, right? Well, it says here...
It's almost like they took out that part because that time came and went and Jesus still hadn't shown up. So they were like, oh fuck, we better take that part out or else it makes our prophecy look like it's bullshit. Whoops. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, God, but the Eurocentrism narcs me. There were remarkable things happening in China, in India, Africa, and the Middle East, all through the Dark Ages. Cult of Cautious Optimism says, I'm sure this goes without saying, but the Dark Ages were still a period of progress, specifically with mathematics, rudimentary chemistry, and disease theory, all developing especially in the Middle East. And Arnandia Owl says, it's not that nothing happened in the Dark Ages, we just don't have a lot of writing from that time period in Europe after the collapse of the Roman Empire.
Here that the King of Kings comes at 5,500. So that's 500 years before that millennial time. Okay? He came at around 0 AD or 5 BC, right? So if you add 500 years to that, what do you get? Around 500 AD. About 490, whatever it is. Something to that effect. And all of these texts point to him coming at that time frame of 5,500 years, which would be about 0 AD.
Ancient
at that
wisdom,
time, I'll give you fruit from the tree of life, and you'll eat and live forever. It's talking to Adam there. And it says, at the end of a great 5 days and a half, concerning which I've made a promise to thee and thy father, I will send my word, or logos, to save thee and thy seed. Okay? And you got lots of, and that's from second Adam there. You go over here, when 5,000 years will be accomplished, then at the 5,500th year, Dark Ages are really just dark.
I'm going to skip ahead to see if he gets into anything else, because there's still like 30 minutes left of this.
Most of them absolutely stunning buildings were built. The best artwork ever made was during these time frames. It's just hilarious to look at. And of course, there's also a 200-year...
racist disbelief of historical achievement? Sure.
Gap. There's some sort of thing going on between around 1500 AD and 1800 AD. In that time frame, there's a lot of
millennial
odd
time,
things
avocado
going on
toast, and escape rooms for all.
You can see it in the maps. You see maps that are conflated between 15 and 1800s, where the 1500 maps will have 1800 items on them. And it's almost like someone went back and started trying to manipulate the maps and stuff, or I don't know what happened. But you see a lot of this type of stuff between 1500 and 1800 AD. And then you start seeing that these empty cities around 1800, 1850, completely empty cities. Who built all these buildings? Completely empty cities everywhere, all around the world, by the way. You know, like one person there. I don't know what that is. Got a statue over here. Almost empty.
Maps and Mimic says, young Earth creationists think the Earth is 6,000 years old. That's a 6 and 3 zeros. That's 3 zeros, 6 and 3. 6 3 times is 666. Young Earth creationists are satanic.
And of course, they say these cities, and this is like after the 1950s. I think this is basically exposing Buddha, okay, in the Garden of Eden. So you have the devil counterfeiting what was really happening in the Garden of Eden. You have the devil counterfeiting what happened in the flood. That's why you have numerous flood stories. You have the Sumerian flood story. You have like about, I think it's...
Problem says 622 AD, Islamic Golden Age. Took me all of 6 seconds to kneecap this guy's argument of nothing
about 40
happening.
different flood stories from all were very much against.
He's saying Satan is responsible for all other religions.
And, you know, a lot of people think, oh, this is just fairy tales. No, actually. It has a bird's face. The exact same as this. This has a bird's face. Okay? And
if the bird has a face, you must acquit.
I've already found actually some connections, not even really looking a lot into this. You see a lot of connections. I read some stuff already that connects it sort of back to the Egyptian religions. The lotus, the universal symbol of the lotus, which is what Buddha is sitting on here. Okay? And I think it's sort of a false Holy Spirit. Okay? You know how the devil likes to counterfeit everything. Something I forgot to mention real quick here. The lotus is a twofold type of divine and human hermaphrodite. So again, we have this Baphomet type of concept. You see here.
Does he think Buddha is Baphomet?
I'm trying to get it to where it shows it. Here we go. It's Baphomet concept of hermaphrodite.
Alright. I think that's enough of this guy. What a nut.
Afternoon. This is my 4th video today, but I've been looking at CERN this morning, and then the observatories. We're going to do another time lapse for this evening, but really what's going on at the observatories? This is not just a shooting star. I believe that this is a ship that just came out of a portal in the sky. I've done that video and uploaded it if you haven't seen it. Right there. There's something going on, and I think there's lots of portals in the sky. I really do. And it's no secret. It isn't a secret.
Aliens on the bingo card.
And like this video right here that I had just done, I had uploaded it to the YouTube. You can't see it right here, but this ship right here, it had a green trail behind it. It came out from behind that star. A portal opened up behind that star. I sat and watched it. I slowed it down at the slowest speed, and I think there's so much more going on than what meets the eye. I really do. And I know that this ain't very popular for people with everything going on in the world to go, hey, I think I'm going to go see if I can find any ships at the observatories or any portals that ships might be coming out of. But I like to look at it. It's nice to document and investigate it as you look at this. So this is the latest video. It came out from behind there, and I'd love to know what the name of that star system is right there that it came out of, because that's the exact point. If you go to the YouTube channel, you can look up the right here. And they suppressed this video. They didn't want to let it go. They got the traffic to my YouTube.
You got 175 views.
Channel slowed way down right now, but they didn't want to let this be released. It's kind of being shadow banned. But right before
if they wanted to ban you, they could just ban you, Gina. That doesn't even make sense.
That one was this one that came from the sky. There's a lot more, and people are saying they're seeing a lot of fireballs going off, is what they're saying. But I think that what if they're ships coming down, you all? Really, what if they are ships coming down?
What if they are?
From portals, like little bitty, like wormholes also, you know, they just coming straight out. There's no telling. There really is no telling what is being let in.
Chiba Hawk says, does she not think every single astronomer is also wishing beyond a star they could see a spaceship come out of a portal too, right? The thing she was saying about the lasers, by the way, why are there lasers coming out of the telescope? I actually looked this up. It's pretty interesting. It's a calibration thing. Large telescopes like that will shoot a laser out, which will create an artificial star, quote unquote. And with that, they can, like, see how much the atmosphere is obscuring points of light through it, and they can adjust based on that. It's pretty interesting.
And in the skies, there isn't.
Rublum, thanks for gifting 3 tier 1 subs.
I know our world is like turned upside down. It is. And if you're commenting, let me just tell you something. Not one single comment is allowed on here. Not one. It's not me doing it, you all. It's not. They have literally, I can't tell if anybody's watching. I can see people's up there like 41 and 12 likes, but they're not allowing the comments. So that's all right. I want you to know that there are ships coming out of portals in the sky, quite possibly wormholes. In that last video I uploaded, it's 1 minute and 11 seconds, with the little green trail behind it. You know, they say that that's meteorites or asteroids or something. No, I don't think so. I think that's a ship that literally pierced through behind that star system. If somebody knows what that star is in that area, could you please put it in the comment section below that video? It's this video right here. It came out from behind that star right there.
First name bunch number says it's green because it contains nickel, which is a very common element in meteors. It's not some weird sci-fi thing. It's basic chemistry.
Let me do this, you all. Came right out behind this one right there. If you can go and look at that, if you know what that location is in the sky, that would be great. Because I don't know if these portals, when they open up, if they open up only when certain stars are in certain locations. I don't know. And I really am sorry if you're trying to comment. They're not allowing nothing. I can't see anything. They're probably hoping that, Gina, would you please just quit giving out so much information? No. I'm not going to...
She's standing up to the man, okay? She thinks there's a fascistic secret police that are making sure she doesn't get her news out, and what she has to say to them is, no.
Quit. Until it's my time, okay? Then I'll quit. When it's my time, I'll know and I'll quit. This right here, that's a ship too. It's not just a shooting star. That's why I said shooting star ship, because they're coming out is what's happening. They're coming out, you all. So I am gonna go and probably get me something to eat, but I wanted to come on here and say hello to you all. Yeah, check out those videos. I've also shared those, uploaded them individually to my Facebook, because I want them to see what's going on too over there on the Facebook. I haven't really been doing much posting on my Facebook, but if I feel that there's something important to post, I will.
Don't shoot Starship. We built this city. You'll always be airplane to me.
Do it. Like this right here. I posted that on there individually because I wanted them to see. You know, it's already been shared 365 times with over 983 people watching it. So it's something's going on in our world. It is. So with that being said, thank you for watching the videos on this YouTube channel, and thank you for giving it a thumbs up. Thank you for your comments. If you know that location of where, let me say it once again, just one more time, of where this star is located. If you can go to the video, you'll be able to see it. What is the name of that area right there? Because it came out of there from right behind it, out of nowhere. So with that being said, hello wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello from my heart to yours. Love you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, you all. Thank you.
She's trying. She's trying. This was one someone sent.
1st of June 2022. G'day everyone. Been doing some research today, into the sewing machine, which they tell us was invented in 1790. It's really interesting, because I was looking at a lot of images and stuff of the fashion of the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s and all that. Bloody marvellous, isn't it, Copious amounts of fabric, all must have been woven by hand, and then they sewed them by hand, and then you think of their undergarments, they had corsets and pantaloons and all sorts of things, you know, all by hand. Wonder why they wore so much clothing, you know, like, must have been heavy to walk around in all that clothing, eh?
Prudishness, and they smelled bad.
You know. I'm thinking to myself, I'm smelling some bullshit here. You know. Then I thought, geez, these people must have done nothing else but sew all day and night.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of people did that. It was their job, or if they were just at home, they would just do that, and they would sew for the family, because that was kind of the division of labor at the time. Women didn't really have rights. So they would stay home and, like, take care of children, or sew. Yeah. Kippy says, also cloth was much thinner, typically.
And yet that can't be. Because, you know, around the world, we got all these Tartarian buildings and they're all made out of red bricks.
No.
So the people must have been baking red bricks day and night. So I'm thinking to myself, who's sewing the clothes?
Does she not understand that different people have different jobs? Like, where did I go today? Today I went to a supermarket. So when I was in the supermarket and saw people at the cash register, I didn't think to myself, who's working at the Taco Bell down the street? If you're here doing groceries, who's working at Taco Bell? Because I understand that different people do different jobs. Weird, I know.
You know, I mean, we got red brick buildings all over Australia and New Zealand, and, you know, they must have been making them day and night for the amount of red bricks there are. And yet, the sewing machine wasn't invented until 1790. So you had all these people baking all these red bricks around the world. And I'm thinking, who's sewing the clothes? I think our history's a lie, folks.
This lady's dumb! I love it. Ooh, look at this channel. This channel is just called New Zealand Conspiracy Loons.
Nearly 40% of...
Elminato says that person working the grocery store probably is working at the Taco Bell after the shift. Oof.
Kiwi school children do not go to school regularly. How did we get here? We are a first world country. Or are we quickly about to lose that as well? How are we in this place? I'm not a parent. I've only got a little dog who's hiding in the corner. But if I was a parent, I would say there are a whole range of things going on. And if you're a kid, it's the same issue. Why would a child want to go to school wearing a mask, not being able to play and interact properly socially with a teacher who wants to talk about gender ideologies?
Oh, God.
Who doesn't want to do their job and teach them actual resources that they are going to need.
Sorry, kids. We got rid of math class. I gotta teach you about what non-binary means every day, all day, for the next 9 months.
To excel.
Gay agenda on the bingo card, yeah.
As a human being functioning in a modern society.
New Zealand. This guy's an anti-vaxxer? He gets tased. I need more context. There it is. Gnome Pickles says, okay, Billy, you might love little Timmy or little Susie, or you might decide you're little Brenda, and that's okay, and you deserve love. Now that I've taught you that, I am forbidden from teaching you math.
This is the Nelson Art Gallery. This is art by Nikau Hinden, showcasing her knowledge and commitment for Toi Māori. Galam wants
yeah,
to...
line between tinfoil and line between tinfoil and Chudwatch grows thinner on the bingo card.
He took me in here and said, Mum, come and have a look at this. What did you find, Galam?
Heaps of squares and heaps of square compass.
And pyramids, isn't it? This one's just filled with them, square and compass here. And like the checkerboard style. A bit more pyramid and square and compass.
Heaps of more square and compass and a Freemason cabinet.
Yeah, a lot, isn't it? The whole thing.
Let's sort the men from the boys, Anzac. Let's sort the men from the bullshit. Now I gotta go and get some milk.
Okay.
How did we get to this place as a nation where men are marrying men? Where women are marrying women? Where our children are being taught in our schools that they can choose to be a boy or a girl.
They can, fun fact.
Despite their biological, God-given gender or sex. Could it possibly be because of pride? Let us not forget, haughtiness comes before a fall, but pride before destruction.
Then is it just pictures?
Good. Still holding the line up there. Man, honestly,
Freemasons are the virus. We know about
there you go. What do you know about me? What do you know about me? Tell me to my face what you know about me.
I don't talk to control.
Hey? What do you know about me? You don't know nothing about me, bro. Don't come in here spitting your accusations. Okay, you got 198 people watching you accusing me. What are you accusing me of? Tell them.
Controlled opposition.
Well, you're wrong. Okay? Get it through your thick head. Whoever is in your head controlling your opposition, alright? They're wrong, bro.
Do you know what you're
Get
doing
it
right
right.
now? You're doing
I'm recording and I'm showing what the hell is happening
that's
here.
That's called a demolay tactic, you know?
Oh, come on, bro. That's an old one, bro. That's an old one, mate.
Who are you trying to pick fights with?
I ain't going anywhere. This is how controlled I am. I'll get up in your face. Stand up for myself. That's right. I ain't no controlled opposition, nigga. I'm here
What?
standing up for you as much
Oh, yikes.
as for every other person.
I've been
So
standing
you
at-
can
I've been
say
standing at the Governor
whatever you
General's
like.
every
Bro,
day.
do you not know there's no Governor General?
Well, don't be a conspiracy theorist, people. This is what'll get you. Not great. Gamers.
Could I just have all your attention? The cows have paddock number 2. Bob, up the back. Can I just have your attention for a minute? Very important announcement from the New Zealand Minister for Climate Change. Now, apparently, there'll be no more burping from now on. James Shaw, MP for Climate Change, who was educated at Wellington High School, which is a Freemason demoralised school. He's apparently said that your burps are causing problems. And that he wants to tax you now if you're going to be burping. Yeah, come on down, Eliza, listen up. Now, James Shaw, he's your climate change minister. Now, they used to call it global warming, but then the warming didn't stack up. So they changed the name to climate change and hoped you all wouldn't notice. Now, gather...
Holy fuck. Climate change deniers are just the worst fucking people on the planet.
Gather round, girls. Gather round. Yeah, listen up, Eliza. Now, James Shaw, he's your New Zealand government minister for climate change, right? Now, he's saying that your burps are causing a problem.
Probably farts, but yeah, livestock produces a lot of methane that goes into the atmosphere. It's an issue.
That's what he says, Cheeky. That's what he says. He says that your burps are causing a problem. Now, I would like a response. If I could get a response from anybody in the crowd here. Do you think it's really fair and reasonable that James Shaw would be setting about vilifying your burps? I think it's just network. Say to that...
Like, does she just think it's funny that a serious issue involves bodily functions? Like, does she just find the fact that, like, oh, hey, livestock produces a lot of excess greenhouse gases. We should probably do something about that. She goes, ha ha ha, burp. Like, that's the extent of what she got from that is, haha, you're talking about cow burps and farts. Genius. Undercover Beast says, to be fair, that was the most appropriate place to spread bullshit. True. There are apparently a lot of New Zealand crazies, based on how big this channel is. Maps and Mimic says, to be fair, middle schoolers love fart jokes. That's true.
Kia ora, everyone. I feel like I'm herding cats here, or children, and it's frustrating because we're getting people thinking that they're meeting up today. Some people have been driving around Marsden for an hour, and yet I know nobody that's put that message out. So you've decided to do that on your own. So how about this? How about you guys out there that are acting like herded cats or children, start acting like adults, okay? No word is being put out. The information that needs to be heard has been put out there. There are people that are commenting.
Don't know the context there. I did save that channel, by the way, so we can get more of them later.
I just got to pop in here and say something to all my critics. To all you Freemasons making threats, bring it the fuck on. I don't give a fuck. I've seen the wrath of God behind me. Bring it on, see what happens to you. And to all you jackasses making fucking stupid comments about numbers, where do you think language came from? 300 years ago, most people couldn't even fucking read and write, okay? Who created language? The Magi, the magicians. And what was their number one purpose? To make sure that you never find out how the fuck they do magic, right? So that's why everything's 9/11. They started with 9/11. Okay, how can we say this 9/11? Everything is how can we say 9/11 a million different fucking ways, and that's what I'm trying to teach you, okay? The Magi created language. And who created language in the United States? Who created the United States? The Freemasons. So why do we use English all over the fucking world? Because it's the number language these guys use for espionage and treason, and it's gonna send them to the death penalty. You know why? Because they're fucking busted. So right here, to all you critics, right fucking here, prove me wrong, motherfuckers.
That's not how that works. You have the burden of proof, but okay.
Did you guys see this from The Simpsons? Treehouse of Horrors 8. Homer Simpson running around with a yellow and blue flag. Blue 13 equals M Mason. Yellow 29 9/11. Yeah, and then
it's a Ukrainian flag.
Look at the date, 5/5/2022. The nuclear bomb goes off, right? Well, that adds up to 7. 7 equals G. And then on Putin said the end of the war would be 5/9/2022. That adds up to 9/11. What trips me out is every war I do the numbers on, it's always 7 and 9/11. 7 and 9/11 on all the dates, all the important names in all these wars. Anyhow, just saying, look at this, and then look what Bloomberg just posted today. This is from Bloomberg. What's going on, people?
This guy's nuts. Let's do one more of these. Love you too.
Fraud vitiates everything. Just as the United States Constitution supersedes all other laws, in a court of law, fraud vitiates everything. Vitiates is a legal term that means negates, quashes, annuls, invalidates, revokes, or abrogates.
I was sent here by a special person in your life, you know who, to give you this information. Life is the most difficult exam. Many people fail because they try to copy others, not realizing that everyone has a different question paper. I have no idea who you're talking about. Genuinely. Undercover Beast says, ending thought every Tinfoil Tuesday.
That's a lot of nuts!
Yeah, indeed. You smell a troll? Probably.
Thank you. I have been called bad before. Many have said I do things that are not.
What else do we have?
Kia ora, sitting here in Waihi, and I felt really moved to do a video because Waihi's just a typical small North Island town and it's basically empty. We thought we'd stop and get some lunch here, and of course we can't because well, most of the cafes are closed anyway, but the cafes that are open are pretty empty and have the old Vax Pass signs in the window. Now, isn't it just ridiculous?
Maybe they were sent by God.
Alan's come
Maybe.
out of hospital.
There are a lot of fucking crazy people.
With his new hip replacement after being diagnosed way back then as having COVID, despite the only symptoms being a headache for a couple of hours and having a bit of a snooze about 4 or 5 days before he went into hospital. So he's immune. I had similar type symptoms, so presumably
catching COVID doesn't make you immune to COVID. What? People catch COVID multiple times.
Immune. We've both got natural immunity that in most places in the world would be fully recognised as being better than having an experimental vaccine.
No!
But here in New Zealand we still can't go into a cafe and buy lunch. So we've got a Prime Minister who can't understand why everyone took the time out of their lives to go down to Wellington and protest. Well, if she can't understand, she's either thick or she's being deliberately obtuse or deliberately running an agenda that does not match with what New Zealanders want. it is, as Alexa says, it is absolutely messed up. It is completely mad. Look, you know, little town, look at this down the street. There's a few cars.
Gnome Pickles says, I have an employee who was caught COVID twice and both times she nearly passed. Bite me, crazy lady.
And there's one little bakery that's selling a few bits and pieces, but pretty much the whole town is shut. And why can we not go into a cafe and buy lunch, just like people that have chosen to have an experimental injection? I mean, it's just completely inexplicable, completely ridiculous. It really pisses me off, to be honest. But anyway, yes, it's just shows that the government's so out of touch. Yeah, they are dropping passports on people coming into the country, which is really awesome news. So we can travel again, and that's great. But why do we have any restrictions at all? Look, most people that are getting COVID still don't really know they're getting it. The people in Wellington, it appears that there are a large number of people in Wellington who supposedly had COVID, but most of them didn't know that they had COVID. So it's clearly not that bad. And yes, we've got that.
I think the millions and millions of dead people would probably beg a differ on that one. But, you know, maybe that's just me. Do we want to see Mud Fossil University guy bitching that no one takes him seriously?
Okay, my friends, I have a scathing report on peer review. It is broken. It was a cornerstone of modern science. Totally broken. And the reason is very, very disturbing, as you will hear now. All right, here's the issue. If a scientist did a scientific research paper approves God or anything about the God story or the flood or any of that, would it ever get published? I can guarantee.
It would need to be reviewed for evidence. If there was actual observable and repeatable evidence, then yes, it would, but that hasn't happened.
To you, no. All right, now anybody that knows me knows this is how this started. I discovered giants on my property. Nobody can take them away from me. They're on my property, and they're still out here now because the damn...
Is someone trying to steal your giant fossils that are just rocks?
Things are so big I can't possibly move them. That is a fingernail. A fingernail from a fingertip from a giant human.
That's usually where fingernails are.
And yes, it's human.
Also, no, that's a boulder.
Because I had a DNA test.
It's not a boulder. It's a rock.
And from front to back, it's almost 3 feet long. This is the pad that goes right on the back of the fingertip. These are the blood supplies. And I broke off a piece here that actually still has the fingerprints on it.
Maps and Mimic says, I'd say that my uncle that died from COVID was turning in his grave, but he thought vaccines caused autism and that not all Nazis are bad, so honestly not sure. Undercover Beast, thanks for gifting a sub.
And then I went down inside and got blood out of an artery. You know, there's tons of blood in fingers, but you can't get it from the surface. See this? When I talk about tons, they are saturated with blood. Now, the fingertip was there. I broke off a piece on the edge, and I went down inside and took some really raw red blood out. And this is the fingerprints.
He took oxidized parts of it, and then he contaminated it with his own genetic material, and then sent it into a lab and didn't tell them why he wanted this DNA tested. He just told them to test it for DNA, and they did. And they found DNA. It was his DNA. But he doesn't think it's his DNA. He thinks it's giant DNA.
That came off of that fingernail when I broke it off the side. Now, the fingerprints have the sweat pores and everything still in it. This is literally about this thick, and it just came right off just like you unglued it, and it just snapped right off like it was Velcroed. These are the fingerprint ridges, just like your fingerprint ridges. They're the same size as my thumb, the width. It's huge. It's gigantic. And it was DNA tested. And I have more. This was just one of them. I have tons of them. This is a lung that came out of the same hole and it's the same size as us. And I mean, it is flawless. And they are saturated with
Wait, it had a fingernail that was bigger than its lung?
blood.
How does that work?
Lungs they're just saturated with blood. that's blood runs through them, and the air goes in there, and that's how you breathe. Now this one here had all of this rubbery pleura. That's the coating that coats your lung. It's a membrane and a rubber bag. Coating around here, see the blackish, the big fingertip. I've shown you so far. We have that.
I just want to see him bitch about people not taking him seriously. Hold on, maybe it's this part.
And I actually have that. I have knuckles and all kinds.
Gnome Pickle says, "Oh my gosh, he found the fingernail of a Terry Pratchett troll. Proof we live on a Discworld and I can vacation in Ankh-Morpork." H-Baird with 45 bits says, "Maybe the DNA is from the bird he got that feather from. Maybe."
These are things from this particular hand. Again, DNA tested. And here's the DNA report. 7 years ago, all three of those things, the 36-inch tip, the lung, and the big hand, all were DNA tested and all came back positive for human DNA, and it was...
It's your DNA, dipshit!
deeply...
Let's take a look at what the report actually says. We might be able to... Let's see. Objective. The objective of this analysis is to perform extraction of genome and or mitochondrial DNA from 3 mud fossil samples. Upon successful DNA extraction from the samples, subsequent analysis will include the amplification of extracted DNA using PCR technique, targeting specific DNA marker sequences, and to obtain DNA sequence from an amplified PCR product. Procedure. DNA extraction. Bacterial DNA was extracted from each of the 3 subject mud fossil samples using the Gene Clean Ancient DNA Extract Kit, MP Bio, Solon, OH, according to the manufacturer's instructions. 50 microliters of protein K solutions, or rather, proteinase K solutions was added to each sample prior to incubation at 56C, and incubation was carried out for 24 hours to ensure complete lysis. A negative control sample was also included in the DNA extraction procedure. The DNA extraction from each sample was collected from the column 2 elution steps, such that DNA extraction obtained from each sample consisted of a first and second elution. Following the DNA extraction procedure, the concentration and optical density of each DNA extraction was measured using the nanodrop spectrometer, or rather spectrophotometer. DNA concentration in nanograms per microliter and optical density.
And the big hand, all were DNA tested and all came back positive for human DNA, and it was deeply extracted. I extracted it and sent off the extractions. They tested them and they said they were dense and excellent quality. Excellent quality DNA sequences obtained the 36-inch tip and the lung sample, and it came back Homo sapien D and BG.
A giant wouldn't be a Homo sapien, though. Dude, you got your own DNA on the samples.
Homo sapien, human. Now, this was the mitochondrial DNA, so it doesn't say, you know, the male side, the way I understand it. This just proves that they were human. The blood was human. And it was literally raw blood that I sent them. So, and it could be retested.
It was rusty rock water.
They're all here. Nothing's hidden. It's just that they won't allow me to bring this to Yale. This
Helix Biolab. It's in Michigan. The highest quality, most cost-effective laboratory testing services and analytical data available. Now I want to call them and see what they think about this. Alright, where'd it go?
is the problem. I live...
Quranic Cuttlefish says DNA is a large molecule and degrades relatively rapidly, even under ideal conditions. You're not likely to get anything after more than 10,000 years. Oh, yeah. There's zero chance any of the stuff he has DNA, because for one thing, even if they were fossils, they wouldn't have it. And secondly, they're not fossils. They're just rocks. He's DNA testing rocks.
Very close to Yale. And I contacted them, and I did all kinds of stuff. And we even had a human head that we actually had CAT scan to try to present to them. And they still, no matter what we did, they would not allow us in the door into Yale. Derek Briggs was supposed to be the guy that was on top of this type of preservation that was complete preservation. But he's doing insects and bugs and, I don't know, leaves and silly things like that. I had the real goods. And he would not allow me to bring it down. He kept saying, no, all you have is rocks. They're just rocks. Now,
because they are rocks!
Anybody, backed up by DNA and CAT scans and specimens and literal blood from Yale University, not allowing it. And Harvard, the same thing, would not allow it. And Johns Hopkins, same thing. I even took a course at Johns Hopkins, and the professor shut me down in 8 minutes. Nope, just forget about it. You're basically...
Because you're a fucking crazy person wasting everyone else's class time with your bullshit.
Very, very nasty responses from everybody. I was called a creationist, a Jesus freak, a Bible thumper. I said, this has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that whatsoever. Flat earther, it went on and on and on. And then they just shut me right out of the system. And so that's why peer review does not work at all, because peers do not like to have anybody...
They aren't your peers. They're scientists. You're not their peer. You're a rando on the internet.
...up into their arena. They will keep you out of their arena, and they will bully you, and that's what's been done to me. It was done to my hero, Velikovsky. I wrote a book called Minds in Collision, because their minds are colliding with reality. They can't accept it. And he wrote a book, Worlds in Collision, and that showed that the ancient texts of the things that I write about were accurate and true. And that just destroys these academics. And they will be destroyed, because this life ends. Something's going to happen to you in the next life. And everything that I have looked into tells me there will be something coming after this. And it's either good or it's terrible as hell.
They won't look at my rocks, so my God's gonna burn them for eternity, and they deserve it. What a fucked up mentality. Holy shit, dude, close some tabs.
Okay, so
you guys see how many tabs he had open? Rublum, thanks for gifting a sub.
Publish about God. Well, what does God publish about them? 2 Peter 2:3. In their greed, these false teachers will exploit you with tales they have concocted. The long-standing verdict against them remains in full. Okay, not any
the
reason
Bible
to show the
now?
evidence.
Okay. Done. Listen to him, bitch. We've been going for 3 hours. That's a stream. We did it. Nope, not Twitter. Can't have that load. Too much horny posting on my timeline. Probably not Twitch safe. Too much horny posting on my timeline. Probably not Twitch safe. Is there an echo in here? A very sexy echo. These scientists called me a Jesus freak. Anyway, here's a Bible quote. That is funny. Squid. Willow. Who do?
Pros get angry and they don't want to lose. You know what? I want. Okay.
How about Willow?
Okay. So.
Alright, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. I'll be back tomorrow for something else. Sunday will be the patron-only live stream, so I don't know. Be ready for that. It'll be fun. Become a patron if you want to be a part of it. So I'll see you guys later. Good night. Good night. Good night.